And we're live.
Okay, well, hi everybody. Welcome to Silerious. Today we're going to do something a little bit different, and we're going to do a special stream on mental health. Sorry, one sec. So, if for anyone who was listening to our dumpster fire on Friday night, we did say that we were starting a book club today, but there was some miscommunication, and not everybody was aware that it was going to start today. So we are going to start book club next week. The book that we're reading is Fahrenheit 451. The time is still to be determined, but yeah. So, and then we're going to have book club every other week. But so instead of doing starting book club today, we thought we'd do a stream on mental health since it's been something we've been talking about doing for a little while. So I'm Sigyn. We have Loki here. The two of us are
Hello.
Silerious. And then we have Loki's other love partner, Trigger Warning. Um,
I hear the jealousy.
I feel it. It's in the room with me.
yeah. So, okay. So to get started, I am going to read what the difference between mental health and mental illness is. And we're going to take it from there. So this is, I put the link in the chat. Maybe I'll just post it again. No, wait, that's the wrong one. Should I post it again? Yeah, I'll post it again. So this is from the University of Toronto and the Center for Addiction and Mental Health in Toronto. So according to CAMH, mental health is the ability to enjoy life and deal with challenges you face every day, whether that involves making choices and decisions, adapting to and coping to difficult situations, or talking about your needs and desires. A person feels mentally healthy when it feels like everything is working well. You feel good about yourself, your relationships with other people, and you are able to meet the demands and challenges of everyday life. Throughout a person's lifetime, mental health is a springboard of thinking and communication skills, learning, emotional growth, resilience, and self-esteem. So you guys can read more if you want. And so now I'm going to go through the definition of mental illness. So mental illness is a term used to refer to mental health problems that are diagnosed and treated by mental health professionals. Mental health professionals. In the medical profession, they are also called mental disorders, but this is not a term that is very comfortable for most people. Mental illness includes depression, bipolar, anxiety, eating disorder, schizophrenia, and self-injurious behaviors. It's important that we recognize that mental wellness and mental health problems or mental illness are part of an ever-changing and dynamic continuum. So, thoughts?
Let's
Yeah. Well, I mean, those are just your definitions of it. You know what I mean?
Well, the
Um,
two kind of get used interchangeably sometimes, right?
well, I was a mental illness falls under mental health, really,
Yeah.
right? Mental illness is ow, fucking cat bit my leg. Um, would be you like your mental health is your mental well being. Mental illness is a lack of well being in your mental health.
So what
Um,
do you think about them being interchangeable and on a continuum and that they're
well, they're
ever
not
changing and
really
dynamic?
interchangeable because like mental illness means there's a problem with your mental health. So they're not exactly interchangeable. And
Okay.
apparently there's an echo.
Yeah, I can hear something coming from somebody.
Is it me?
That's weird because I'm wearing a headset.
Oh,
Did
that's
you
really
turn
weird.
me up or something?
Oh, maybe I did turn you up last time. Let me turn you down.
Did you try that? See how that works. Because apparently they're blaming me now. Um,
Okay, let's keep
yeah,
going.
but mental health involves finding balance in all aspects of your life physical, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. And so mental illness would be the lack of being able to find a balance in those things, right?
Yeah.
And really the issue is mental illness has like a stigmatism around it of being bad. One of the best examples currently going on that everyone knows about would be the transgender issue. and it was, what is it? Gender dysphoria.
Yeah, that's
And
what it used to
now
be
you
called.
can't call it that anymore, and you can't say that it's a mental illness, or else you're being transphobic and you're being a bigot. It's like, well, no, it is a mental illness, right? There is a mental problem. That doesn't make them bad people, or it's like anything like that. But it is something that needs to be addressed more on the clinical side than socially acceptable norm.
Right.
Is really
I feel like
not the way it should go.
there's been a large movement towards and against stigmatization of mental disorders, but the anti-stigmatization thing went so far beyond it that now it just turned into acceptance, and now everyone
Right.
just accept what you are as opposed to just destigmatize it,
Yeah.
saying
Well,
Well,
yes,
they
some
should be.
people,
Well, it's the
huh,
same thing with
saying
PTSD.
yes.
Um,
Well, now it's so acceptable that people are asking for it for Christmas.
yeah, exactly. And that's one of the things, because they were trying to be like, it's okay if you have these problems, you should talk about them. But people who feel like they might have a mental illness, they want to hide it and conceal it because they're ashamed. And it's like, don't be ashamed. Seek the help that you need, because maybe you can be better. And then somebody grabbed a hold of that narrative and decided to make it, no, you're fine just the way you are. Nothing's wrong. It's
well,
like,
how
okay,
many
no, that's
people
that's not the solution either.
How many people, right? When here it says the ability, mental health is the ability to enjoy and deal with life challenges you face every day, make choices, adapt, cope, all this stuff. So, how many people do you think today, and maybe a little bit in our generation, actually have that ability? Like, are dealing with challenges they face every day, are able to adapt, are able to cope, are able to, have relationships with other people?
Well, this is not to go all full conservative on it and everything, but that's the participation trophy problem, right? The coddling of the children. There isn't those little moments of having to deal with life on your own, and so when they reach adulthood, they have no way to deal with it, and that's what you're seeing in the colleges right now. Is the people who've been coddled and have had helicopter parents, and they're pretty much completely incapable of taking care of themselves. And now they're like, oh, well, we all have these mental problems. Like, we need therapy and all this stuff, and you all have to pay for it. So, well, your parents should pay for it because they're the ones who fucked you up. But a lot of them don't actually have a problem. It's something they just haven't been prepared for the real world. They've been too coddled, and now they think they have, like, depression issues. Like, what is depression at now? 1 in 4 women.
Yeah,
Um,
well, our next article is why more Americans suffer from mental disorders than anyone else.
yeah. Well,
Um,
I blame
That's
feminism for
not
that.
funny.
I have no evidence, but I'm telling you, it's
Well,
feminism.
you can blame the left altogether by them promising to you you deserve better every step of the way while lying to you.
Right.
Like you deserve better. Okay, you can even blame marketing as well too. They're like, oh, you need this new lifestyle, and if you're not happy, you're just not thin enough. You're not eating right enough. You're actually those are mental things, but
Right.
occasionally they're like, you don't have the right car for your
Well,
lifestyle. You
exactly.
need
Yeah. Um, the U.S. government was a big pusher of keeping up with the Joneses, and you have to have the newest, nicest, biggest TV, the biggest truck, like the Excursion. I love the Excursion; it's great, but it only exists because of the keeping up with the Joneses. Like my SUV, my soccer mom SUV has to be bigger than the other mom's SUVs, and bigger and better and newer,
more
and
comfortable leather seats for the kids. The two or
but
three
that
TVs in
stuff
the
doesn't
back to
make you
play.
happy.
so do you
It
not
doesn't.
think maybe the counterculture in our generation is kind of a little bit of a resistance to that
It,
of
it
like we
isn't.
don't
Yes.
It isn't. No. A
know?
resistance? No. The next generation, the one on the backside of the millennials,
Hold
they're
on.
definitely going to be.
So am I alone in this? That where I grew up very anti-materialistic. I did come from the Soviet Union and got
Yeah,
raised in fucking
exactly.
Toronto. I was incredibly anti-materialistic and tried to get rid
That's
of
the good old
online.
Soviet Union, though. I mean,
Also, my
a
mom kept
place where you
brainwashing
had
me.
bread lines, and then you come to the gluttonous society of Canada, and you're like, fuck all these people and the materialistic ways. Like, even if you were a small child, I mean, you still have the imprint of the life, and your
Yeah,
parents
but
still have that influence over you because that was their life.
well,
So
once it
it's
started
still there for
moving
you.
away from this leftist mentality of you don't need anything because you have everything, which is fucking something they drilled into you. I did spend about $15,000 on music equipment,
Yeah.
Well,
and that
that
was probably dumb.
that's kind of like the Buddhist mindfulness kind of thing that like you don't need anything and you have everything you need. But and maybe that's why a lot of people are turning towards that. I don't know. That's spirituality and mindfulness has been everywhere now
Yeah,
as
but
like
you
as
saw
a
what the
way
left
for
did with it.
people to
These
maintain mental health. So
they took something like mindfulness and said just like be aware of yourself and your surroundings, know where you are. So if you feel like shit, take a look around you. It might not be because you're depressed, but might be because of the situation you're in, and turned it into what is a mindful philosophy of the fucking SJWs. Be mindful of other people's situations and other people's positions in life and everything about other people, and you do everything you can to make other people happy. When literally I'm pretty sure most of Buddhist philosophy was about making yourself happy and therefore turning your own world into a better world.
Right.
Then you can go out and spread your better world onto other people.
yeah, well, I mean, there's been studies that show like the top most successful people in the world, a lot of them do meditate and take that time. So there has been a lot of benefits shown to mindfulness and meditation for a lot of things. And maybe that's a reaction to just the craziness of life and the chaos and people needing a few minutes to just sit down. But here it says right now in the United States, about 1 in 10 people in America has suffered from depression last year.
Last year? Holy fuck.
And hold on, this is in 2011 though. And I'm
Okay.
pretty sure that this has increased
It's yeah. Well, I
at
know
this point
that
in time.
last year women over 30, 1 in 4 are on antidepressants. So I don't know how many got like temporary treatment.
It says 27% of adults in the US will experience some sort of mental health disorder, making US the country with the highest prevalence. Mental health disorders include mood disorders, anxiety, blah, 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 blah. Um, Over the lifetime, the average American has a 47.4% chance of having any kind of mental health disorder. That's almost 1 in 2. The projected
Yeah, I
lifetime
don't.
prevalence is even
Well,
higher.
you're talking about like a temporary disorder, like you might have
Right.
a
So there,
bout of depression because your life turns to complete shit, but not a persistent disorder.
and I think depression in men and women manifest really differently. Like men are more likely to get depressed after a job loss or after a divorce.
Yeah.
Um, I
Well,
think
that's
women
because
are,
that's what men's driving force is. The job is to provide for the family. This is completely on the evolutionary, not the conscious level. To drive to provide, and in our society, providing is money. So the job is the means of providing for your family, and divorce is obviously the loss of your family, which is kind of our
yeah.
whole evolutionary purpose as men. So you kind of don't feel so much like a man when that happens. Like you were just not capable of providing what you should have been able to provide, and that's what, or performing the job you should have been able to perform. Like being the guy that lets the woolly mammoth get away. It's not cool.
Yeah, pretty
No.
much.
Um, but anyway, like my overall point was, there's more coddling, so I believe there is more depression. People are experiencing the temporary depression, but I don't think they know how or are doing anything to overcome it, and it's becoming a bigger issue. And like you have more and more people who are openly like, oh, I suffer from depression. It's like, oh, you
Well,
might have been depressed about something shitty that was going on in your life, and now you're on pills, and you're just going to stay on them for the rest of your fucking life
You're
because you
not
don't know
allowed to
any
say
better.
that anymore. Like I was
okay,
saying,
so can I quickly
hold
just
on.
read what the symptoms of depression are?
Yeah,
Sure.
I bet
Okay.
they're very vague and open ended,
Okay,
aren't they?
so although depression may occur only one time during your life, there's people who have multiple episodes. So depression is something that is kind of episodic, which I guess
Chronic?
would make you more bipolar, if anything. Um, but
Or you could just be
depression,
having a really shitty life.
yeah. So feelings of sadness, cheerfulness, emptiness, hopelessness, angry outbursts, irritability or frustration, even over
That
small matters, loss
that
of
sounds like
interest.
every liberal I fucking know. Every single SJW. That is their.
Loss of interest in pleasure in almost all normal activities such as sex, hobbies, or sports. Sleep disturbances, including insomnia or sleeping too much, lack of energy, changes in appetite, anxiety, feelings of worthlessness, guilt, fixation on past failures, blaming yourself that you aren't or things that you aren't responsible for, um, frequent thoughts of death, suicide.
Trigger, check the Discord,
Yeah.
the chat.
Yeah. The Discord?
No, the Hangout chat.
Oh, okay.
Why?
No, you can keep going.
Oh, So yeah, so no, those are the definitions, or that, well, those are the symptoms of depression. Um, although I remember somewhere in that had to be like feelings of intense grief. Although I think maybe that's kind of, yeah, actually, whatever. I mean, in school, they told that one of the things that I learned when I was doing my undergrad in psychology, it was something called depressive realism. And what they said was that people who are high, like everything is kind of on a spectrum with mental disorders. Like there's
Oh
low and
no,
highs to everything.
that the one thing that triggers me, saying everything's on a spectrum.
Yeah.
Everything is on a spectrum.
Well,
The
yeah.
nuance. It's all about the nuance. Well, here's the thing, right? Like survivor's guilt. Survivor's guilt is definitely in the realm of depression. Um, but that's one of those things. Like that's completely an external thing. Like you don't really have any control over that. You just have to deal with it, and no drug is going to fix that. You know what I mean?
Well, they can keep regulating your shit. Like someone's saying in the chat, like sleeping at a certain time. Scientists continuously go out and prove that you need a proper sleeping schedule. You need like proper eating. You need exercise. And you need some kind of motivation in life. Some people
Well, so
do
yeah,
it.
that's why I want that camp. Like that's gonna um, the boot camp fucking thing I was talking about.
Right, right.
Like,
Because it's very very control. Like when you go to like military boot camp, and it's not for everybody. It really isn't. But you're controlled. You're eating at this time, and if you don't eat at that time, you're gonna go hungry. There's no eating at your own schedule, and it's very controlled the entire time. Um, but it sets you up with like good habits to do every day. You know, waking up, brushing your teeth, you know, going to the bathroom, making your bed, you eat breakfast, you exercise, you eat lunch. We do a lot of exercise, and I'm not joking. We do like 4 hours
yeah.
of doing stupid exercise all day. That's like, and that would be really good for people, especially who are having, because your physical well being, your physical health, is definitely going to increase or decrease, I should say, your chances of depression or anything like that. The
Well,
better
yeah,
physical
because
health you have, the better mental health you're going to
Okay.
have.
exercise is
Now, you
actually
could
one
still
thing that's
suffer from
good.
depression, but it's
Yeah.
going to be less severe and less frequent,
Because
and
If I can jump in for
less
just a
likely to be
moment.
medicated.
We have a
Fine.
bunch of new viewers, as you can see, and since someone has already started the build the camp hashtag, I want you to explain what the hell your camp is because people might get the wrong idea. Since we just
No.
lost, there we go, we just lost the viewer. So please explain to them what the hell you mean by
Like concentration
camp.
camp. Fuck this. I'm out. No, all right. So like a lot of people have little mental health things, and some people it's just as simple as motivation. And I'm really anti medication. I think that's like the absolute last choice, especially when it comes to mental health. Um, so basically, what I want to do is I want to buy some acreage and build a camp, and it's going to be loosely formatted over Marine Corps boot camp. Not as intense, obviously, because that's not a place for people with mental health problems, with a very rigid, formed and scheduled and things like that. Then you're going to learn trades. So you're going to learn woodworking, you know, horticulture, animal husbandry, and stuff like that to help you, one, learn a skill, and then you'll have a product that is created at the end for you to feel a sense of accomplishment and just help you build up to make yourself, you know, mentally and physically tougher. Um, and it's a place where it's not one of those things where, okay, you come for like 3 weeks and then you pass and you're out. Like it's on your timetable. So if you just want to escape life, because a lot of people, what would you call it? Like being in a heavy stream river.
yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you're in the river and you're swimming upstream like the salmon. It's good to have a little offshoot that you can go sit in and rest because being in society, you know, working your job, you lose your job. Like these have negative effects on people. But primarily, I wanted to start it for veterans who are having trouble acclimatizing back to civilian life. With my my way of fixing that was I bought an RV, no power, no water, and sat out for about a year in a field on my grandpa's farm and just didn't go around anybody. And that's not really a good thing.
Yeah. And I mean,
Echo chambers and depression. Okay. All right. We'll get to that.
and one of the thing is the reason that works is one of the cures to, not cures, but one of the ways of dealing with depression is to just do something. Like you'll automatically feel better if you get up and do something, right? So
Yeah, in this camp, it won't be a choice. Right.
Yeah,
It's a
because
3-phase camp.
structure.
By you get to the third phase, you're kind of on your own program, but by then you'll be doing it on your own anyway, and you won't need anyone to tell you, and you feel better about yourself. It really does work. Not for everybody, obviously, but I would say probably 80% or more that would be very effective.
And I mean, what is mental health, right? We just talked about it, the ability to cope, adapt, be able to communicate, to deal with your surroundings. The fact that so many people are struggling with that means that that's not being taught to us properly. We're really not. There's no reason everyone should be so stressed out and so worked up and so reactionary to everything. Like some of this outrage culture could be that, just a reactionary culture. Everyone's just constantly wired.
Well, let's say what he wanted to talk about the echo chambers. I think the echo chambers are extremely detrimental to mental health because I'm pretty sure you just said the cognitive therapy,
Yeah,
Yeah.
cognitive.
cognitive behavioral therapy.
Yeah,
Positive
get into
Your
cognitive.
thought
echo
patterns.
chamber is literally the polar opposite of that, in my opinion. Right?
Yeah, if
Because
everyone
you're
in your
supposed to
echo
be.
chamber just tells
You,
you that everything is shit and everything is shit and
well,
everything is
no,
white
no.
people's fault.
Your
Well,
echo chamber is a padded cell when cognitive therapy, which has been proven to work, is exposing you to the dangers. Like this is a
Yeah,
razor
it's
blade,
it's
right?
it's making
Being in
you
a
aware of
padded
your thinking
cell is
patterns.
keeping
Yeah.
you too safe from the real world, and you're never addressing the issues that you have. So they're just going to persist, and then you are going to end up with that chronic issue because you're
well,
going to never have dealt
look,
with it properly.
we heard some of the symptoms a second ago, but if you're in an echo chamber that continuously says that your life is shit, like everyone around you saying your life is shit and it's white people's fault, then not
Well, no,
only
no, yeah, well, yeah.
do you get
I
depression,
was
but
going to
you
say
also
that's
get
a.
the feeling of helplessness.
Helplessness, yeah.
Yeah, you
Well,
absolutely fall into a
um,
deep depression because you can't do anything about it,
I
especially if
mean,
you're white
depression,
yourself.
look, depression is an evolutionary thing to have. It's a sign. It's a way of your body and your mind telling you that something in your environment is not right. It's kind of a trigger. And someone in the chat is talking about people who have been fighting depression since childhood. Like that obviously is a thing. I think that they'd probably be more on the bipolar side, if anything, and have emotional issues to that extent. But yeah, like it's a sign. It's telling you that your environment, and then if you get so deep in that and feel like you can't change your environment, that's how you fall into this hole, right? That you think that you have no power yourself, you have no control over your surroundings, you feel helpless, and you just feel like a constant victim of your surroundings. You're just a victim of everything. It really is that kind of a mentality, and cognitive behavioral therapy is changing those thought patterns. It's changing the way, like the things that they talk about is overgeneralization. People who say every time I go for a walk, or every time I try to start the car, or like when you get into a fight, you always say this, you're always doing that, like these kinds of words and these patterns that we say, even though it's not always. And then we're also more primed to notice and feel negativity. Like again, that's an evolutionary element for survival. We would notice negative things to our safety more than positive things. So we're primed to notice the negative. So one negative thing affects you 3 times. It takes 3 positive things to affect you the same way one negative thing does. So you're automatically going to be affected by negative things more detrimentally, and you have to be able to fight that and realize that it's not you and it's not the situation, and that is a lot about what cognitive behavioral therapy is.
I would say
But
it's more along the lines of putting the things that you are like the things that trigger you, as they like to say, into your face in small amounts to
Yeah,
create
that's what
inoculation. Like,
systematic desensitization
yeah,
is. When
well,
people have
they
a
literally
phobia.
have
Yeah.
stress inoculation. Is a real actual thing that they do in like every first world military.
Yeah.
The Republic of Korea Marines, they'll do a 20-mile hike and then they will take their boots off and repeat the same hike. That is horrendous, and the whole point is just to harden them. Like after the first 20 miles with your boots on, you're like, okay, I'm ready, I'm done, like this is over. And they're like, nope, now we're gonna ramp it up, and you're gonna have to go through it again. And like those are extreme measures of
Yeah.
hardening you physically, but it's doing the same thing for your mental well-being and pushing yourself to deal with whatever it is that's causing the problem. But you first have to identify the problem. And an echo chamber is identifying a problem, but usually it's not the right problem because they want to tell you how great you are and how nothing's your fault. But sometimes, honestly, like the depression is completely internalized. like the external factors aren't really there or as extreme as you think they are, and you want to break your pattern of thought.
And
That's
I
what
mean,
the cognitive therapy is about: is breaking your thought process that leads you to those bad depressive thoughts.
okay, but for some people it is, and especially people who have it at a really young age, it could be due to trauma.
Oh, you just cut out.
See, look at that.
Try it again.
The
I say
SJWs are oppressing you.
for some people, especially those who start suffering from depression at a really young age, a lot of it could be due to trauma. So people who have experienced some sort of trauma, and a trauma doesn't have to just be like sexual or physical abuse. It could be your parent dying when you're 3 years old, like suddenly, accidentally, or just witnessing a horrible incident or something like that. Or your parents getting divorced when you're a baby. That could be trauma. Um, so there's those aspects too, and those people are more likely to suffer from depression and have other types of mental health issues as well.
Are you sure? Well, okay, I'll go with that.
No, that's yeah. But then if you're in this place that keeps telling you everything's wrong with your life and you live in the
You're basically
Well,
living
patriarchy,
in
I was
that.
saying no. Yeah, I'm saying they're blaming these external things, and sometimes they are internal. And it's not internal in the sense of like it's your fault, like you're to blame. It's your thought process that's leading you to the bad place, right? And not so much the thing, like assuming that somebody else, like reading too much into something that somebody had said to you at work, and then you think about it, and it leads you to a bad place, and you constantly assuming that people are talking about you behind your back and people are saying bad things, right? Those are the same, like you get depressed because you think nobody likes you and things like that.
yeah,
So the cognitive therapy is to break that thought process of, well, maybe what they said, they didn't mean it that way. I should either ask them or move past it and just,
yeah,
wait for more evidence and things like that. Because a lot of times your brain just works you into a circle, and an echo chamber is actually other people helping you work yourself in that circle. Cancer goes in the Discord. Yeah, that is true. My server is cancer. Um, but yeah, like the I mean, I know I've had those thought processes myself. Like you think, and like somebody says something, and it's probably not a big deal at all, and they probably didn't mean anything bad for it, by it. But then, like after like an hour or so, you're constantly thinking about it, and then you're like, oh,
yeah,
now you've assumed they think all these horrible things about you because your brain just led you down that way, and
yeah. And then you
you need
start
to be
thinking about these
trained.
horrible things about
Yeah,
yourself, and then you send
exactly.
the
You need to be trained
spiral.
not to go
Yeah,
down that path in the first place. You need to look at the path and say, that's a dark path with, ugly looking dead trees coming over it. And then there's a nice bright path over a green meadow. Take the green meadow path. That basically you need to train your thoughts to go the right way. And have just a more positive look at things in general.
but I mean, I also think like the rates of depression increasing. I mean, first off, maybe they were always high and we just didn't have censuses back in the 50s and 60s and even later before that. Like there was the Great Depression, right? So there was reasons for people to be depressed when things were falling apart. But so maybe it's always been high all the time. Like people have just are negative to a certain extent, and think negatively. I mean, I don't know.
Well,
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like your thought processes are negative, and the cognitive therapy helps you to change those thought processes so that they don't go negative.
Yeah,
Right, and
but nowhere does
that's
it
good
say
for
avoid
everybody in
anything
some way.
negative, right?
I'm not, because negative things are going to happen in your
hold
life.
on.
There is zero people on the
Yeah,
face of
can
this
we
planet.
establish that the depression is actually like a thing that we need in life? It's not something you can just medicate
Yes,
away.
yes.
Sometimes when your
Yeah.
life is shit and things are falling apart around you, you might not need some more drugs to make you feel better. You just
You,
might need to fix your life a little bit.
yeah, it really is. And that's why exercise, hobbies, of social, like having a social life, having a sense of purpose. I mean, it's Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Everybody has the desire to self-actualize, and if they don't, I think they're mentally ill. But okay,
Well,
but
hold on. We have to stop with with the hierarchy of needs, but we also have to move on to the hedonic treadmill. Hedonic
yeah,
treadmill. The hedonic treadmill is actually incredibly important because what it teaches us is the fact that we like to revert to a very equilibrious state. We can't just be happy all the time. That happy becomes the norm, and that norm makes you not excited. So just because you're not ecstatic all the fucking time also doesn't mean that you're depressed. We do have emotions outside of happiness, and not all the other emotions are bad. Like even the really bad phases in life will also equalize to a certain degree, or using the hedonic treadmill effect, and will also be the norm. But like shit has to be pretty goddamn bad for you to continuously be depressed. That's like a sign that either let's just be perfectly honest, and I hate the fucking hashtag not all bullshit, but either you actually have a legitimate deficiency, which I've known people to have because they've done, as an example, they've done a lot of drugs in their youth, so their serotonin and whatever else isn't being produced properly anymore, and they just go on massive wild mood swings. Or your life is actually falling apart and things are shit. So you can't just get high and drink your fucking get high and drink your shit away, or just medicate your shit away. Sometimes
I
you
mean,
actually need to fix your life.
a lot of depression has to do with boredom. Like I think they've found correlations
Wait,
between
wait.
people.
If we got a manual at birth that defined the difference between boredom and depression, we'd all be fucking blessed. Guys, hashtag blessed. Fucking let's get that human
Oh, I was
emotional
just say let's
manual.
go into that talking about the serotonin.
Okay. So yeah, hold on. Let me pull up the
Of course, of course.
articles.
By the way, most
Well,
of
Um,
these
I
articles
had
are
the
now in the
one.
description of the video, so if anyone wants to follow
I
along,
had the
that's a
one about the
possibility.
downside of celebrating mental illness.
yeah. Oh yeah. Let's do that one. I wanted to hear that one.
Okay.
I
It's
wanted it to
Um.
be a surprise. I didn't read it.
Okay. So I'm gonna just try to. Okay. So usually people's mental illness becomes news when they are used as defenses in murder cases. Um, like that of Andrea Yates, who drowned her 5 young children in Texas in 2001.
Oh yeah, she did. I remember
Ac-
that.
Actually, we might wonder why these defenses aren't used more often. For example, by Susan Smith, who was convicted of murdering her 2 sons by drowning them in a car. Wow, this is dark.
I
Um,
remember that too.
Obviously, one ingredient in such cases is having a high profile attorney and appropriate experts. I have a friend who's a criminal judge. This is by Psychology Today, by the way. I have a judge who is a criminal court judge in the Bronx. After nearly 2 decades on the bench, he only recently saw his first case with a psychiatrist or psychologist, was called by the defense. So, which is really shocking, actually. They should be going into, and for forensic psychology is a thing, but I guess. Um,
Well, they cost money.
yeah,
The prosecutor, the city's got money. The defense, not so much. Like if you got
yeah,
a court appointed lawyer, you're not going to be able to hire a psychiatrist or psychologist, and only if you're trying to make that claim without a psychiatrist will the city fork the money over to get you evaluated. Unless it's in children, it's pretty much
yeah,
default. You're going to get a psychiatrist or a psychologist to assess the child. But when it comes to adults, they're only going to fork that money out if you're trying to claim that as your defense.
yeah. Okay. Well,
It's all
that's
about the
kind of.
moolah. Yep. Well, I mean,
Um,
people got to make money, right? You got to pay
so
off your school bills, your fucking student loans, right?
Oh,
So you
I
can't
love
can't do
I'm gonna
everything
be a
for free.
student for the rest of my life. Um, so
Just
this
like
brings up the
Kanye.
topic of celebrating mental illness. Shut up. Often,
No, he had that as a skit on his second album. He's like, I'm gonna have so many degrees, and he's like, when I get buried, I'm gonna get buried with all my degrees. And he said he's just gonna go to college forever
I'm
and
just
never do
gonna get
anything else.
buried in
You
my
don't
degrees.
have to pay back your loans, so as long
Yeah,
as
you
you're
don't
in
have to pay
school, you
back your
don't have to
loans as
pay
long
back
as
your
you're in
loan.
school.
That's true. That I just endlessly forever. Um, so this brings up the topic of celebrating people with mental illness. Often we see people appear on TV programs. The program hosts make a big point of how important it is to be present in such cases to educate people, to better inform them about the condition the person displays. A frequent self-congratulatory mantra whew, in such interviews goes something like, "It's so brave of you to openly discuss your condition. This will undoubtedly help so many others who share your problem." Should I keep going?
Yeah.
In October last year, Jennifer Mee was arrested in this is an old article. No, maybe it's not. It's 2011. Okay. In October last year, Jennifer Mee was arrested for murder. In 1997, Mee achieved television prominence as the hiccup girl of Florida due to her constant hiccuping. I don't know why this is relevant. At the time of her arrest, Mee's mother said that her participation in the murder, she accused of helping two men lure another man into a vacant house where they killed the man, was due to Tourette's syndrome, which caused her hiccuping. Mee was interviewed in jail and she waits trial on the Today Show, and her attorney, who has offered several defenses. Mee has claimed that she didn't lure the victim. She was also taped admitting that she did. Okay, so I'm gonna just stop this here
Okay.
because
Why?
I don't think. Do you care?
I kind of
I
want to know
do.
why she murdered
Yeah,
somebody because of her hiccups.
I'm interested in it.
Okay. She also was taped admitting that she did. Most recently, Mia has claimed that the murder was prompted by the jealousy of one of the killers due to her being with the victim. Mia's attorney was originally thought to be presenting a defense based on her neuropsychiatric disorder. But now her lawyer seems to prefer the defense of having appeared on television at such a vulnerable age. Before she
Yep.
was capable of processing the notoriety led to her to be involved in the crime. Okay.
See, you can stop
Mm.
there now
Yeah.
because that
So
was the
so
part that I wanted, so it could segue into what I wanted to say.
so wait, hold on, just to confirm. So it's saying that because she was on TV at such a young age,
It excuses
that's
her
what led
murder.
her.
Yes,
Okay.
exactly what they're
Okay.
saying. Now, this is what I was going to say is we were actually having this conversation in the Discord. Um, there is a pedophile ring in Hollywood, and what's his Corey Feldman?
Yes.
Like
Yes.
he speaks out about it, and like nobody wants to believe him. And half the people don't want to believe him because they like the stuff that comes out of Hollywood. They're like, oh, well, those are people who made my favorite show, so I don't want to believe it about them. Also, they're powerful people in Hollywood, but I really do believe that really happens. I do believe there is a pedophile ring, and that parents will basically pimp out their children to make their children famous so that they can make money or live vicariously through their
Um,
children. Um, but the mainstream narrative is just what this lawyer is trying to say. It's like, oh, they couldn't process the notoriety. I was like, no, I think it's probably getting diddled by a fucking 60-year-old dude when you're 8 years old that causes the trauma. Now, I don't think this happened to her, but it does happen in Hollywood. A lot of your, like, think of the people you've seen who are child stars and look at how they act now. It's
yeah,
half
Lindsay
being in an echo
Lohan, Amanda
chamber of people who
Bynes.
tell you how great you are, and the other half is the fucked up shit that people do to children in the pedo rings.
Well, I mean, Loki has been going on for a few years about trauma-based mind control, um,
Oh, it's a
which,
real thing. The CIA perfected it. I mean,
No, did
yeah.
they? We're
somebody
not
cut
supposed to
that
talk
out.
about that.
Cut that out. Not supposed
I'll
to talk
tell
about
you.
that.
Oh no.
No, there was a. I can't even remember the name of the project anymore, but there was a model
Monarch.
who volunteered for a CIA
It's called Project
test,
Monarch.
and they basically gave her a split personality and trained the split personality to be an agent for the CIA. And her conscious mind, the one that volunteered for it, didn't even know it existed until like 10 years after the fact. And they actually had her do ops, her split personality do ops. So she would go on shoots as a model, and then her split personality would take over and do some covert stuff for the CIA. Now, it's anecdotal at best. You can't really say that you believe that, but the mind is a very, very awesome and easily manipulated thing, which is why the echo chambers are so bad, in my opinion, is because that's basically doing the same thing. It is a bit of mind control. It is going to change the pathways of your brain and how it functions and how you think and your thought process, which is why the cognitive therapy actually works, is because it is manipulating the way your brain thinks and the way it takes steps and does things. And people can take advantage of that. The Soviet Union did. There's a big thing of the Soviet Union. They were also pretty good at it. But our mental health is really something we need to safeguard and look at in a non-biased way. Was it look at it objectively and not subjectively?
That's really hard until we perfect neurotechnology that can actually keep track of what's happening in the brain. And our technology is still in its infancy,
Well,
and
yeah, it is
we
lacking. It is.
no
I'm not gonna
for
deny
now.
that.
For now, let's not get this wrong. I've watched plenty of fucking
Well,
talks with
I
people
need
who are
to
saying
know
that we're
more.
getting closer and closer to actually being able to track down diseases based on the brain's what they call it, neural pathways. They're like, we're
All right.
starting
What
to
I'm saying is we
see.
would be a lot further along. Like the mental health, I think mental health issues are more prevalent in some groups than they are in others. And looking at groups as though they are different, and I'm talking kind of about ethnicities, like your areas where you're from. Um, when people are from different groups, they can be more susceptible to different types of mental illnesses or genetic illnesses and things like that. But that whole field is a taboo field that we're not supposed to talk about because it's not real and it's racist to even think that. And I think
Well, I
the
mean,
left is being socially acceptable of mental illness, and there's no such thing as mental illness, and you're fine just the way you are, and be proud of it and have parades
they
for
do
it.
do
Well,
ethnic
Um,
differences
hold
in
on, hold on.
depression and ethnic differences in addictions and ethnic differences in like
there
in
is
so
right, but I'm saying how
like I
mainstream
look
is
at
that
ethnic
narrative?
differences in addiction and drug
Right, right.
use.
But how mainstream is that narrative?
It's
I'm not
not
saying it doesn't happen. I'm saying that if it
suppressed.
was a more mainstream discussion and it was socially acceptable to talk about publicly, we could get mental health treatment a lot further along in this country. We'd be a lot further than we are. But for the last 20 years or so, it's basically been racist to even point those things out. Like, yeah, studies do happen, but how many people know how to find those studies? How many people have even heard about those studies?
Well, I mean, there's a vast amount of literature. Well, I mean, I know personally
No,
about
I'm not saying it's not there. I'm saying how many people know it's there.
Yeah,
yeah. I
that's why people
mean,
keep
so
saying it's suppressed because
like
most people
even
don't
one
know about the studies.
misconception, for example, with ethnic differences in drug use is in fact in Europe, in Canada, and in the United States. And there's been numbers of surveys and studies and national whatevers. There's just been numerous of them, and I've looked at literature reviews. Black people use less drugs than white people, and white people use the most. Then it's Black people. Then it's Asians. Then it's well, Arab nation and Middle Eastern nations and Asians are kind of one and the same.
It also
Um,
depends what you qualify as a drug.
well,
I actually ask that
cigarette
question all the time.
smoking, alcohol, marijuana. Um, I
Well, no,
personally,
are you saying across the board? Just if
yep,
you're counting all drugs, it's white people. I can
yep.
totally buy that,
If it's
and
heroin,
I believe
cocaine,
that's the environmental determinism thing, which is not really a mental health, but you can kind of trace it back to
I
that. The
I
leisure
personally believe it's
capability of
Yeah,
it's the access
and culture.
and the
It's more
money to be able to
acceptable.
buy it
No, but
because
well,
in
the
if you
thing,
have to
European culture,
afford a
like
bunch of
drinking is
heroin,
acceptable.
so
no,
is
as I'm
the
saying, the
let's so is the
environmental
depression.
determinism is the environment and the ability to grow so much there before society had all of our, you know, vanity items like televisions and cars and fancy things like that. Um, Before any of that stuff existed, it's pretty much just booze is all you really had. But people had a lot of
Yeah.
leisure time, so experimenting with drugs because you're bored is a very white thing. But if you look at other areas of the world, growing food has never been quite as easy. Access to that leisure time has not been as easy. Like even if you look at Africa today, they still struggle to get food and water. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So they don't have leisure time like white people did
And I
in
mean,
Europe.
drug use, obviously, the other issue is that one of the reasons for this differences is also something called the healthy immigrant effect, where people who are ethnic minorities who have gone through the immigration process are more likely to be healthier.
Yeah,
And
they're
actually,
genetically superior to the immigrants that, or
interestingly
the people
enough,
they left behind.
the longer you're in a country, or the younger age you come in the country, your drug and alcohol use will become similar to that of whites. So
Oh,
if
of course,
you,
That sounds
yeah,
racist.
no, no.
it is
So yeah,
racist. It's
yeah, so
okay though
whatever
because I've looked at the
so
definition.
acculturation and assimilation does take place, and then long-time immigrants start having the same behaviors when it comes to drug and alcohol use. I
And
mean,
I also
religion
think
is another
immigration.
factor that comes
I
into
also think
play.
immigration has a detrimental effect on the U.S. mental health in general, and Canada because you guys have pretty much the same immigration policy.
Yeah,
Um, well, what I mean is because you have clashing cultural differences. Like especially if you're what is it called, homogenous group, right? I think that's the right word.
yeah,
Now you have a whole different group brought in a large number that you now have to interact with, and there's clashes, and of course that's going to cause depression, especially like say you were a white boy who then all of a sudden found yourself in a predominantly Mexican community where everyone is speaking Spanish, you don't speak Spanish, and now all of a sudden you're an outcast because of white
yeah.
flight. Not saying I personally experienced that or anything. Luckily, I am, half Mexican. I just don't look it, but it took a little effort, but I got them to accept me.
Yeah, I
But
mean,
no, yeah, like most of the white people left and Mexicans moved in, and over, I'd say, the span of like 5 or 6 years, it went from predominantly white to almost completely Mexican. And if I hadn't been poor, I would have
yeah,
probably, my family probably would have moved too.
I think it's also all of it happening so fast, like not gradually. For
Right.
us,
Well,
yeah,
that was my point. I'm saying is our
yeah.
immigration policy is opening floodgates periodically, and
I
then you have clash of cultures where if you could let in little bits of every country, like there are plenty of people all around the world who would be more than happy to move in to the country, and you could take that same number but spread it out around the world with lots of different cultures, and then they would assimilate rather than large groups of
Which is
one
how it
one
was
culture.
naturally happening on its own because
Exactly.
sorry, SJWs, people have been culturally appropriating since the beginning of history. Um, so yeah, it was something natural. Like even for me, when I grew, I was 2 years old when I came to Canada, and I was in a classroom, and there was Black people and Chinese people and white people, and we didn't even think about it. It was only until you like come into high school, and we obviously saw that our parents were different, and we had different rules. For like in terms of family dynamics, there was obviously differences. But then you go to high school, and then you go to university, and you're getting taught about racism, and you've already like I don't know, it was these ideas were implanted in you, like it's like you're in fact you're not implicitly biased, you are able to get along with other races and not even think about it at a young child as a young child, and then you're getting taught that you're implicitly biased. Like it's this weird kind of mentality, and then you they pit you against each other, and then they're like, be multicultural but like maintain your own culture, and then don't learn English. I don't know, but
I
that was
think
a
we.
little.
I feel like we got a little bit off track. The main point of
Well,
all of
no,
this is that
I
the
was saying,
longer you live in a country that you live, regardless of whether you're an immigrant or not, you're going to assimilate and you're going to do the
no,
exact
no.
same
We
amount
were
of
talking about the
drugs
mental
that
health.
yeah.
I'm saying the mental health effect of large groups of different communities.
Oh,
Well, because you look like in the U.S., you have groups of like Muslims only, Mormons only, Asia, like Chinatown, and things like that,
Yeah.
and they try to stay in their own groups because they came in such large groups. They didn't have to assimilate. But even when they assimilate in small numbers, that's very difficult, and it does affect their mental health as immigrants. So their default is to create their own little community, which obviously you can see has effects nationally. But in the mental health spheres, I'm saying is that the not wanting to assimilate when you immigrate and finding a community of similar people, right, is um, going back to that cognitive therapy, right? It's the opposite of doing that. It's creating their own little echo chamber of ethnicity so they don't have to assimilate to the new culture they moved into.
Yeah, I think I feel like Toronto, for example, now is more culturally divided than ever.
Right. That's what I'm
And
saying. We need,
my
if you
sister's in New
immigrate, we
York,
have
and
to
she says it's
force.
not like that at all.
Yeah,
Well, no, it
New
still
York.
is.
Well, New York is like you have your
okay.
Italian area, you have your black area, you have your Puerto Rican area,
But the
but there
US is
are
more about
also
assimilation than
well, yeah,
multiculturalism.
there's
but
large areas of New York that are completely integrated, but there are also areas of New York that are
but
not.
never
They're completely
forget that the
homogenous.
rich will always hang out with the rich.
And I mean, and just to bring back cultural differences and mental illness and mental health. I mean, even when you look at back to depression, there's so many different aspects of depression. So as immigrants coming, you're more likely to feel depression because you're leaving your family, and you're having this, and this sense of community is gone. Well, people in North America, I mean, one of the explanations they say that depression is higher in North America is because of this lack of community and lack of family and individualistic mentality, that everybody's on their own and everybody's out for themselves, and you should only like try to be, put yourself first. So, and you don't have a sense of belonging and a sense of community. I mean, the
Well,
loss of
that's
religion.
big city life right there. That's what happens when you live in the big city. I think being in the city is probably the most oppressive place you can live. I just assume on aggregate that people who live in the city are more depressed. One, being
Yeah.
around nature and the greenery and the animals is nice, but also you have a more sense of a community. Like the gas station, I go in there. I get to check myself out. I go in
Yeah.
the back fridge to get my drinks because they're not stocked, and no one says anything. If you tried that shit in some of the neighborhoods I've lived in the city, you'd get fucking shot on the spot. Like no questions asked. They'd be like, "Oh, they're probably robbing me," and fucking shoot you. But there is a sense of community. Like people know my name, and I don't even introduce myself. I'm an antisocial person, and everybody knows who I am. Which it's a
Yeah.
good thing. You feel more like you belong, and that even includes the one black dude who is married to my cousin. He's the only black guy in the entire town. He's still a part of the community because everyone likes to talk about how like small country areas are racist. It's like yeah, they kind of are because you're new and you're different and you're not like everybody else. But once you're here for a while, you become accepted because they see you as an individual rather than an
Yeah, I mean,
outsider.
that's mere exposure effect. The more you're
Yeah,
exposed to something, and this is what I hate about the agenda of the left and the fact that they're putting up posters of we don't tolerate discrimination and we don't tolerate this and that. Like, once you become used to something, you become used to it. And they're constantly reminding you of it, so you can't even become used to it. Um, yeah. And then they're just creating hostility. Like, it makes sense that millennials are.
Hold on. But most of these people don't even know the kind of posters they have up in Toronto. I actually have to go out and like take photos of them and post them in their Discord so people can see that they have all these anti-discrimination fucking posters up of like, oh my god, these white people are telling all these Muslim people in full hijab fucking garb to go back home, and the quirky little hijab women are like, oh, to where North York because North
Which
York
is
is
like a
technically
neighborhood.
yeah, it's the central neighborhood of Toronto because we want to be like New York that much more.
ugh, fuck Canada.
Like what? Oh, where? Fucking North? No, but if you're fucking born here. You don't fucking walk around in a hijab unless you've been brainwashed to think it's fashionable.
Right. You're
Also,
gonna
it's
see
just.
more. 2017, you're gonna see more hijabs. I
I mean,
promise.
what do
And
you
it's
mean
gonna be
Oh,
on
more?
white
I've
women.
already
What do you mean more? You
seen.
haven't been
No, no,
Yeah.
on
here.
the white women. On the white
Oh, and the
women.
white women. Yeah, well,
Well, I
Germany's fucking
mean,
making this shit. Hold on, Germany is making this shit a fashion statement, and I've seen a bunch of European advertisements coming out with this shit being a fashion statement. They're like, oh, don't forget your fucking hijab. It's now red and colorful and has fucking banana patterns on it.
Oh, I have to clarify this for the chat because the majority of these people haven't been around. I am very anti-ethno state. I'm all about the integration. I'm all about cultural appropriation.
But
It's my favorite
these
thing.
aren't
yes.
these aren't edgy Sphinxes fans. These are Krauts fans.
No, I know. I just want to clarify. Well, I was sitting there talking about how bad it was to have large groups of immigrants.
Yeah,
I'm
but
not
it's
pro
like
ethno state. I know sometimes it might sound like it,
no,
but
but it
I'm
should
really
be
not.
a slow and steady process, not like
Yeah,
this is it doesn't feel it
Hold
feels
on.
trickles, not
fake.
floods.
Does
This
that
feels
mean we
like
have
it's
to actually
being pushed
clarify
on
where
us.
each? Does that mean we have to clarify where each and every one of us is from to introduce us to a slightly new audience?
I know, right?
Okay, I guess Trigger, you can start.
I'm a Mexican Jew. There's a little bit of Irish in there, but I don't like to talk about it. That's where
uh
my family. That's where my family name. My family name is Rose. Apparently, that's Irish. Except the family crest looks like it's more English, but it's probably because the English did a lot of raping in Ireland and Scotland, so that's probably why.
I wish Hot Potato was here to hear that.
She was, or she fucking said she was going to bed. She came in, she's like, "Hey, I'm here," and then like, "I'm going to bed." Like, okay, whatever.
You
Fuck her,
still
she's
hang out
Irish
with
anyway.
Discord.
I am Iranian, but I came to Canada when I was 2 years old, so they say I'm whitewashed.
Yeah, Valley Girl.
I don't know
So
how in
count till she
Toronto I got the
dies.
Californian accent, but just like my fellow Persians in California, I guess.
it's the feminist indoctrination. It comes with a Cali accent.
Oh,
It absolutely
maybe.
does. It
It
absolutely
really
does.
does.
I also watched a lot of Clueless when I was a kid.
Oh
So
yeah, yeah, that's straight up. Like that movie was just based on Burbank.
yeah.
Straight up, that's what everyone was like in Burbank at the time.
Um,
My background is fairly simple. I was born in the Soviet Union, in one of the coldest places on the planet, and my parents pretend, well, or at least my mom pretended to be Jewish so she could marry my dad and escape to Israel because that's the only place they would let the Jews go. Otherwise, they were very oppressive to us. After spending about 3 years in Israel, my dad did everything he possibly could to
she's
get his
born in
ass
California.
over to Canada so we can live here in the great Toronto city that basically
Oh,
turns into
I like
socialism here
Satan.
as well.
Satan. I like his voice because he sounds totally like a Peter Puffer, like straight up. Like I don't know. I don't know if he is because I haven't seen him do anything about himself. But that YouTuber, I asked him if he wanted to come on here, and he didn't even respond to me. Asked if he wanted to come on one of our live streams. He's
Yeah.
It's not
impressive.
Sun Woman. It's Sigyn. Like
What?
the
Oh, yeah.
yes, she is originally from.
Yes, yes, I
Well,
am
no,
Persian.
Sun
We
Woman
like to
actually
say
totally works for a
Persian. We don't like
Persian.
to say Iranian.
But wait, Sun Woman totally works for a Persian.
It does, as Zoroastrian.
No, it does.
Yeah, because they're
Yeah.
okay, so now that we've gotten that out of the way, let's want to get into the serotonin and depression since
Yeah.
yeah. So I
Since
don't
we've
know.
literally blamed immigrants for mental health problems in the U.S., hell yeah.
No, we said they're better adopted up until a few years into
Oh yes, they
their
definitely are.
integration into society, at which point they start developing.
Yeah.
picking up on
The large groups
from the
actually,
society.
I think, is undermining that. But immigrants in general were genetically and health wise and mental health wise much better than the rest of us. So we started bringing them in large groups where then they don't have to acclimatize and face diversity.
Yep.
Leave it to white people to fuck everything up.
And I mean maybe that'll be another stream that I would want to do sometime of growing up in two cultured world and how hard that is. Again, first world problems, whatever. But it's not easy being caught between two cultures and some people have different freedoms. They're allowed to do different things that you weren't allowed to do. Like I struggled with that a lot in high school.
Enough of this SJW shit.
So
Yeah. Okay. We're not intersectional feminists, all right?
no.
Save that for your knitting club.
Okay. So if those of you who have maybe seen InfoWars, Paul Joseph Watson did a video on the truth about depression.
Can you do me a favor? And if you ever say his name again, please leave out the InfoWars part. That just it feels like you're
cares?
undermining him. Like you're like he's a
Why?
part of InfoWars because that's like
Whatever.
if Cenk Uygur had or not Cenk Uygur, Dave Rubin when he was in the Young Turks, like he said something good, and you're like the Young Turks, Dave Rubin, and then everyone's gonna be from that
InfoWars
crazy
is not all
organization.
bad. Okay,
Neither is the Young Turks, but Dave Rubin still
No,
quit
they're all
and started
bad.
his own thing. That's my point. Dave Rubin used to be a part of the Young Turks.
Yeah, I know.
A lot of like if you watch the come on, fuck it. What was it? Chemicals in the water turning the frogs gay. I don't remember what it was.
Yeah,
like,
that one.
But come on,
Yeah.
come on,
guys,
come on. Shit's crazy over there.
Guys, that's the worst thing I have heard him say. And if you give him a chance, he will tell you all about the reptilian creatures running the EU, trying to eat the
Right,
Russian
yeah,
babies.
exactly. That's what I'm saying. He's
There's
like
evidence for this, guys. There's evidence.
Alex Jones is fucking like he needs some mental health.
But wait.
I really-
Wait. Alex Jones actually got another point on my chalkboard recently when when all the shit he's been saying about Hillary finally got the spirit cooking right underneath her belt and was associated with child pedophile rapists who do black
that is true. That was
that
fucking-
is
That's
something
still
Alex
not a
Jones.
confirmed
No.
thing. Come
Yes,
on.
it is. That is something
No.
Alex Jones has been talking about since the 80s.
They had videos that they were emailing to each other of like, hey, I got this video from the event. Where they had people doing like mock
They're
sacrifices.
saying obviously they were talking in some kind of code, but it doesn't.
No,
that's
not the pedophile
stuff.
ring. We're talking
Oh,
the
okay.
We're talking
devil.
about spirit cooking. Devil
Yeah, the
worship.
spirit cooking. That's what it is.
Oh, okay.
It's mock devil worship. Like it's not actual devil worshiping that we know of, but it's some weird cult like fucking shit that like mock virgin sacrifice that they were doing. And they were openly talking about it, and there was video of them doing it. But no, I was saying it's like Alex Jones said that she's like, okay, he's batshit crazy. Now it comes out, and I'm like, maybe there is lizard people, and I don't like thinking that there's a possibility that there's fucking lizard people walking around, right?
To
This
be
isn't
fair,
cool, Hillary.
The lizard people isn't Alex Jones. The lizard people is David Icke. David Icke is the one that keeps going on about lizard people. Alex Jones just gives him a platform to also continue on. The shape-shifting reptilians that eat our children to sustain their immortality.
Yeah,
I mean, we are talking about mental illness, so those
I
are
know, that's
symptoms
what I'm telling you. Like Alex
of
Jones needs some
paranoia,
mental help.
schizophrenia.
I mean, it's funny. Like the shit he says is funny. Like I like the sound of his voice. I kind of like, but the shit he says is like batshit crazy.
Well, you don't think they're poisoning us in the food and water?
No, I don't. I think that people. Okay, like what is it? The road to hell is paved in good intentions. I think a lot of the shit that is going wrong are people trying to like the fluoride in the water.
Yeah,
but
that
I don't
was
think
so that you
that's
don't
turning
have
the
shitty
frogs
teeth.
gay. But yeah, but they're like, hey, fluoride's good. Let's put it in the water. That'll make everybody good.
Yeah, and it actually did. Dental hygiene improved significantly once they put fluoride in the water.
Yes, but it's a
Yeah,
very
but it
well.
also
Hold on.
has problems, right?
It's a very well-known case that the Russian government, the USSR government, sorry, I have to distinguish, not all Russians. It's the USSR government used to put fluoride into the water to what the fuck is it called? Tranquilize. What was the other term?
pacify.
To pacify the prison populations in the gulags. Apparently, like all the behavioral problems went away once they started pumping a bunch of fluoride into the water. Like that is a well-known thing. The fact that they pumped it into the water in all of North America makes people really wonder about like whether we should be having the shit. Is dental like it's already in our toothpaste. It is in our toothpaste. It's
Yeah,
in
but
our
not
mouthwash.
everybody
Does it
brushes
need to?
their teeth.
Does it need to
Well, but
be
yeah, but
in our
here's the
drinking
thing:
water?
most of the people who don't brush their teeth are hillbillies who live out here with me, and there's no fluoride in the water out of the well. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
they're drinking well water at that point.
I'm not even joking. No. I have a water tower. I know where the well is that they pull the water out of into the water tower, and the water tower's there in case the power goes out. Then it's gravity fed water, so we'll still have water for about 24 hours. You think I'm not even joking. Oh
No,
no.
I believe
Here's
you.
here's a little story about
I'm
racism where I'm
sorry I
from.
said Infowars. I apologize.
Okay. No. Here's some little like sidetrack, as if we're not sidetracked enough. When I was in elementary school, I actually lived where I'm living right now. I bought the place where I lived when I was a kid.
Oh, that's cute.
That's true. I will show my dick. Anyways, the water tower in the next town over, somebody went up on the water tower and covered the town's name and put KKK. That was there when I moved here, and it was there when I moved out like 6 years later. It's actually gone now, but that shit they said was there for at least 12 years before they actually took the time to get rid of it. That's how racist it is. The town was okay with KKK covering the town name. So obviously, I don't tell people I'm a Jew around here.
Okay, well,
Well, Sushi Man, create another account and sub again. No, I'm joking. Don't do that. That would upset me to find out that.
so did
I
you
had a
did you
bunch of
end up
double-
watching it, Trigger?
Yes, I did. I watched it twice.
I actually
I was
watched
trying
it
to-
twice
'cause-
too.
What you were saying that you had a problem with what he was saying,
No, I
and
did.
then you were gonna that you
yeah.
were gonna go look into it. So, um, basically, what he was saying was everybody is like, "Hey, look at how depressed we are," and it's becoming like a socially acceptable thing to be depressed, and it's like a badge of honor that people are wearing.
Yeah.
And
Or to have
he
just
wasn't.
mental illness in general.
Yeah, he wasn't saying that it doesn't exist. Um, but he's basically saying that the majority of the science that they say is backing it up, that the SJW narrative of depression isn't real, because even then, like, a lot of depression comes from your own thoughts, and you
Right,
can
and it's
actually
something
change
that
your
can
thought
be helped.
patterns.
That's the other thing they're leaving out, right?
So, well, yeah, what do you mean? What? Try that
Well,
again?
the idea that you just need to be medicated for the rest of it, and you have depression, it's just this thing that you have always.
Right, yeah.
Which
Well,
that's
that's
not
what I
the
was gonna
case
say.
at all.
It's your thought process, and your thought process can be changed, but the SJW narrative of it is it's a condition, your
It's like a
serotonin level.
chronic,
It's a
yeah.
chemical imbalance. You can't do anything about it, and that isn't actually true for the overwhelming majority. And the science that they cite isn't actually what I can't remember what the word is. Like not it's not fake. It's not. It's just it's inconclusive. That's the word I'm looking
Yes,
for.
it's very inconclusive. So hold
So
on.
she
just
has
give
a study about it that she's going to cover.
Wait, just give me 1 second because I want to actually maybe find the neurotransmitters that there. Okay, so Sarah, so the lack. Okay, so there's two neurotransmitters that have most likely been um linked to depression, and so a lack of serotonin is one that's been linked to depression, and then dopamine. So too little dopamine is associated with Parkinson's disease and depression, and then too much dopamine is associated with schizophrenia. And dopamine is a neurotransmitter that's involved in feelings of reward, which is also what kind of leads to addiction as well. So dopamine levels are there. So now we
I'm
have
sorry,
something.
I have to change the subject for a second.
What?
Marcy, you don't sound crazy. She said, or I'm assuming is a she. Marcy is a girl's name. Sorry if I misgender you,
Wait,
but I
I'm
don't
gonna
care.
go to the bathroom. I'll be right back.
Okay.
Hey, worst case scenario, she can use that chemical to change her gender.
Right, yeah, exactly. Okay, I know I'm going to sound crazy, but the pesticide atrazine is actually changing the gender of frogs. I would like to mention that there are multiple species of frogs that can actually change their gender if
At
they
will.
find themselves in a single gender group. Some of them can actually change their gender so that for the survival of the species. It's an evolutionary trait.
If you guys remember, it was very, very limited, but still featured in Jurassic Park. It's how they explain why the dinosaurs were breeding because they put the frog DNA into them, and the dinosaurs changed their gender so they could lay eggs.
I almost feel like that undermines my statement, but that is true. That is how Jurassic Park did explain the reproduction of dinosaurs when they weren't supposed to reproduce. Um, but I get so these scientists who were capable of bringing dinosaurs back to fucking life somehow overlooked the minor detail that the frogs that they used could change their fucking gender, and they used their genes somehow. That fucking. But I mean, that is actually human nature. I'd say all the Iranians I know are very handsome people. That's funny because I did say that to her once. I can't remember what it was that we were talking about. Anyways, trying to get back on topic of the frogs. The University of Cali at Berkeley has been researching it for years. It's unrelated to the topic, but thought I'd mention it. Yes, they have been researching it, and the reason they've been doing it for years is because the results keep being inconclusive, just like we're talking about the serotonin levels in depression. The science is inconclusive. Like, there are two things that seem as a parallel, but they can't find a correlation.
Okay,
It's the
sorry.
same
What
same
happened?
type of thing. Um, two things that happen at the same time are not necessarily related. You have to find an
Yes,
actual correlation
correlation is
between the
not
two.
causation. It is not.
Yes, right, and
Um,
that's what I said. You have to find the causation that links the two, which is because we were talking about the frogs changing gender, and same thing with the serotonin. Um, the frogs changing gender, they can't find the causation from the chemical to the gender changing, which is why they keep studying it.
Although there is one thing that if you really do control for a lot of variables, and the pattern gets found enough times, like for example with smoking and lung cancer,
Right?
it
Yeah.
is safe to say that there is a cause there because that's been repeated so many times and controlled for so many other factors, and it's still something
Oh,
that's repeatedly found.
you just
Um,
remind like in 2009, they found a genetic correlation from the lung cancer from smoking. Like you're more susceptible and more likely to get it as a genetic marker. Like the lung cancer, so you have a genetic marker that makes you more susceptible to lung cancer if you smoke. And then I read that and I was like, well, that doesn't do shit for me because I'd already been smoking for years at that point. But my grandma died of lung cancer, and I was like, that's not actually good news. I'm like, I don't know why I
yeah,
was.
no,
I
and
was
that yeah,
happy
that's
for like 30 seconds, then I remembered my grandma died of lung cancer from smoking. So I'm like, I'm probably fucked. I probably already have it. And no, I will not get treatment.
Oh, okay, well that let's save that for a whole different stream.
Oh yeah, so yeah. If you guys want, we could do a whole stream about how I don't like medical treatment, and I believe
Yeah.
real men set their own bones. If you're a man and you go to the doctor, I don't care what's wrong with you. If you go to unless you're bleeding out of every orifice on your body, you shouldn't go to a doctor. That's just my opinion. You do what you want, though. I'll just call you a beta.
Okay, so um so to go to this so yeah, so I
I'm
define what
drunk, in case you haven't noticed.
on the
No,
mental health
you're
stream.
not helping the situation.
Should we
You
should we
you
should we
you
go
with
into
PTSD.
addiction?
I wanted you to do the thing about the serotonin,
Yeah, okay,
but
so
I
that's
really wanted to go back and address that frog thing before it got away.
okay.
It got too far away. Well, no, as I was saying, because the serotonin thing is related. Like, there's no correlation found between it. They're just,
No, well the
happy
correlation
coincidence. Maybe, you know what I mean? Like the correlation, like we're pretty sure it's there, but it's not definitive.
Okay, well, they know what the okay, so here's this first article. So they know when the neurotransmitter serotonin is responsible for, but the connection between serotonin and depression is mostly through the use of SSRIs. And so that's where they kind of say that the connection is there. So this first article is saying so depression and anxiety disorders are the most common psychiatric disorders. Over the last few years, molecular brain imaging using PET scans has helped us identify important mechanisms involved in the development and treatment of these disorders, particularly those associated with the serotonin neurotransmitter system. The drugs that are used for these conditions are SSRIs, which were developed over 30 years ago. And so this one is this was a study done in the Lancet Psychiatry that looked at some of the latest global research in the field. So if you go through the study, they kind of, so here it says of 80% of those who are suffering from depression are treated with SSRIs. The success rate is 70%. The quality of life is enhanced and therefore a significant and lasting improvement in their motivation and mood. So there's no denying that it does work, the SSRIs, but they don't know for sure if the SSRIs really do what they're supposed to do. Um, from what I understand, I could not. I'm not an expert on this aspect of psychology yet. Hopefully, I will
Yes.
learn more.
Yeah,
So
that's my problem. Is I started to study it, and it
Right.
was a very. I'm a very conservative person in most of my views on things, and I have no problem telling people. And I was in a very hostile environment, so I changed disciplines. Mostly
Yeah.
because it was like this is what it's going to be like the entire time I'm in this field, and I
Well, you
really
guys are
believe
gonna
in the
have to give
tough
me
love.
therapy while I learn to become a
Yeah.
therapist.
Well, so I believe in the tough
but
love therapy
isn't
and
YouTube the tough love
everything.
therapy? Isn't her going through a clinical psychology degree to become a clinical psychologist? She's going to be doing it on YouTube with us.
Yeah.
And
Well, well, we had this whole discussion about the drawbacks of it,
Yeah.
and it's like I have no problem with anybody making any decision they want to do for themselves personally. I just want people to know what the possible ramifications of those decisions are. But I fully support people making informed decisions, no matter whether I actually agree with the decision itself or not. And I do agree with your decision to go into psychology. You're left just enough, mostly because you're female and you're a minority. You'll be okay. If you were any further right, though, you'd get vilified. You're just like right there at the line.
Well, I mean, yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens. I'm hoping to get in touch with Peterson and hope he'll help me out a little bit.
Well, see, here's the funny because they're like he's like a right wing evil Nazi. Like you saw the video where they
Yeah.
decried him as a Nazi. That dude's
Yeah.
really far left, right? Like he's not center left. Well, he's center on the
Yeah, but
left, right?
he's
He's not
very
center leaning left. He is in the left. But to the SJWs and their echo chambers, their mental health has been so what is it
yeah,
degraded
but he's
to the
very
point
much
that
against communism, and he studied Russian
right, well, that's what I'm saying.
dystopian.
Like,
Yeah.
yeah, communism is far left, right? He's center on the left, right? So the
He's a
communist is
normal
too
liberal, like the rest
extreme,
of us
right?
were, before they
Like
took that word away from us.
I'm trying to remember because I was watching his videos, but I was doing other stuff and listening, and like he was background noise. But he was saying something like he has like the liberal views of personal choice. He just wishes people made more of the choices that he agreed with. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like he has no problem with the pronouns. He has a problem with the government telling him he has to use the pronouns.
Yes. Yes.
Um,
Yes.
Now here, I have a problem with the pronouns, right? Like
Well, I
I'm a
think he.
conservative, and I say 100% that's the pronoun you want to be called. I don't give a fuck if that's what you want to
I
be
mean,
called,
as a
and
clinical
that is a
psychologist,
fundamental. Well, no,
he's
I'm
a.
saying that's a fundamental difference. Like he's
But
left, but he's not authoritarian in any way.
But he's a little bit against the pronouns too, and the reason that he doesn't think it's helping that individual, like from a
Well, no, yeah, yeah, but
psychologist
I
perspective,
mean, I have this.
he's saying like I'm hurting you by changing my words for you. Like this is not going to help you. Like you shouldn't have to. For you're becoming a more enabled person is to be able to deal with adversity around you, and
Well,
as soon as you're
this
trying to
is exactly
control
what we're talking
everybody
about in this
else.
stream. This is what we're talking about right here. right? Like we started out
Yeah.
talking about the cognitive therapy, and he's saying that the pronouns are the opposite of that, right?
Yeah,
Like
it is. It's
life
just
is tough. You're gonna have to deal with it.
no, it's life is tough, so try to control everybody around
Wait,
you,
wait,
and
wait.
that's
No, no,
mental
no, no.
illness.
Peterson has
That's
said
like
on
one of the
several.
Yeah.
reasons
Hold
depression
on, hold on, hold on,
happens.
hold on. Peterson said on several occasions, "I have no problem calling you whatever the fuck you want, but don't fucking mandate it."
Yeah,
No, he
exactly. Yeah,
says
that's what I'm saying.
he doesn't. He says I
Concocting
won't
the
No, no,
call
no,
it to
no.
you
He
unless you
okay.
explain to me
Siggy,
why
Siggy,
I should.
No, no,
Siggy.
no. In that
He
moment,
does
but
not. He does not disagree with calling people by their pronouns. He disagrees with the government enforcing it. But he has also said that he doesn't feel that it's helpful
Yeah.
and good for those people. But he also said that if they laid out a
Yeah.
case for him to use the pronouns, he would use the pronouns. He said that. He said he doesn't want to be forced to do it. No matter what argument you lay out to call you Zed or Zay or whatever the fuck other stupid shit you want to be called,
Yeah.
I flat out refuse. Right now,
Yeah.
I'm saying that's kind of the difference of the conservatism and liberals. Like, it is my choice. I think that's an incorrect pronoun. I think you're making shit up, and I will. You can't convince me otherwise. He's on the left, but he's not authoritarian. Like so, like you see the
Yeah.
little four charts. He's on the left, but he's
Well,
below the
well, he says
horizon
the
bar.
ultimate minority is always the individual, and it's in protecting the individual where
Right?
like
Yeah.
is the core of society. Um. So anyway, so serotonin. Okay, so now this study came out. I'm gonna put it in the chat.
You did already, but you should again.
No, this different one. Or did I? Okay.
Oh no,
So
it's
it's
fine.
okay.
Are
So
you
serotonin.
drinking too? Because I thought I was gonna be the drunk one tonight.
oh,
No, I'm not
I
really
think I
drinking.
think I'll outrace both of you.
I've been drinking
Um,
since 11, so
Oh, okay.
why?
Mental
and
health.
it's 8 p.m. right now.
Dude, that's just as bad for
Uh,
you than
Well,
smoking.
no, okay.
So.
So here, see, this is a whole mental health thing. I still have my survivor's guilt issues that occasionally crop up, and thinking about mental health for the last day, it just gets to me.
Aw, crap. I'm sorry.
No, it's fine. I'm a man, right? I would call myself an alpha, but that wouldn't be alpha if I did so.
Wait, what just
But
happened?
it's my issue to deal with, and I mean, alcohol is not a good way to deal with
Well,
things.
let
But
let
I wanted to do the
What
stream,
did I
so
just miss?
huh?
what?
What did I just miss? What are you
Nothing.
apologizing for?
Oh no, I was saying my
Yes,
survivor's guilt surface, so I've been kind of like drinking most of the day.
Well, I would personally like
There's
you
no
to
need to
actually talk about your
apologize.
survivor's guilt.
Okay, but we're gonna get
Um,
into that after we do this. We'll get into
Okay.
veteran mental health, which is something we wanted to
Oh.
cover. So just let me get over this serotonin and depression thing. Okay, so this study was published in this was published in 2005. I thought it was, but there was another one that was published in 2015 that I can't find right now. But it says a disconnect between advertisement and the scientific literature. Um, so pretty much, the study is saying in the United States, selective serotonin reuptake inhibitor, which is SSRIs, are advertised directly to the consumers. These are highly successful direct-to-consumer advertising campaigns that have largely revolved around the claim that SSRI is a correct chemical imbalance caused by the lack of will correct chemical imbalance caused by the lack of serotonin. Zoloft has $3 billion sales. This was in 2005, so God knows what it is now. And that SSRI advertising has expanded. The antidepressant market has been extended and now is one of the best-selling drugs in medical practice. So the serotonin hypothesis, if you go down, was kind of come up with in 1965. And I don't want to go into too much detail, but if you read through the paper, it kind of just shows that for the most part, it is mostly correlation, and it's with the drug itself. So I just want to find the specific part where they say that.
I was gonna say, can you put that in layman's terms? I was half talking to the chat, and there was some big words in there.
Okay.
Sorry.
So pretty much most of the experiments haven't shown of serotonin levels and depression haven't shown consistent results. And when they do so for example, for a drug, what mostly they do is something called a clinical controlled trial. And they have two groups of people who should be the same on every single aspect, except for the drug itself. And so the drug is, one group will take the drug and another group takes the placebo, and they
I have a
see
question. Did you read this study?
this specific study.
Yeah.
No,
Like
not in
before
detail.
or like right
Damn
now?
it. Okay. Well, because I was gonna ask, because people generally like lifestyle could be the same, but mental makeup would be completely different. I was gonna ask what kind of like how detailed was it in that aspect, since that's what the drug aims at.
Okay,
But I
well,
guess that
essentially,
question wouldn't get an answer.
well, while neuroscience is rapidly advancing field, to propose that researchers could objectively identify a chemical imbalance at the molecular level is not compatible with extant science. In fact, there is no scientifically established ideal chemical balance of serotonin, let alone an identical pathological imbalance. To equate the impressive recent achievements in neuroscience with the support for the serotonin hypothesis is a mistake.
Oh, okay.
So there's no direct proof between serotonin deficiency and mental disorder. The only direct proof is that SSRIs work. But there was another study, which I, again, had saved, which showed that there was a bias in publications that were being published and put forth in journals, where they would be more likely to publish studies that showed an effect than ones
Wait,
that
wait,
didn't.
wait. You mean the predominantly left field had a bias? It's crazy.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, so they
Hmm.
did a study on positive and negative outcomes, and they found that the ones that were positive, that showed a positive associations, were cited more, were used more, were talked about more. So they focused mostly on the ones that showed a positive association and didn't focus on the ones that did not show a correlation. So yeah.
Right. I'm pretty sure I said something similar to this. There was a lot of left-leaning psychology, right?
Yeah.
Like there's a narrative that's being put there.
Well, I mean, this
I got
is
the feeling
more
like
probably big pharma than psychology pushing. Not was maybe
well,
psychiatry, if anything,
I
because
would, I would, I
psychologists
would,
don't
yeah.
give out.
I'm not inclined to disagree entirely, but like my anecdotal evidence of that was I wrote a paper about the news media writing about pedophilia. Well, not I guess according to Hot Potato, it's not pedophilia. Because apparently, if you're 13 years old and a 30-year-old's fucking you, it's not pedophilia. Apparently, I didn't know that definition. Apparently, I didn't get that far. Anyways, there were two different stories where the adult was the same age and the child was the same age. The duration of the situation was the same age. The only difference was their genders.
Yeah.
And the media's portrayal of the female adult versus the male adult was completely different. It was an inappropriate relationship for the 30-year-old female, but it was
Yeah.
child rape and abuse for the 30-year-old male. But I mean, they were very, very similar. Like the child coming over to their house and spending the night and having sleepovers. I mean, there was like if you just looked at the non-biased, like factual based information that they put out there and you took everything else away, it was virtually the same story. If you remove the genders, you wouldn't be able to tell one from the other. But when you added the genders, everything changed and everything became how evil and predatorial the man was and just how inappropriate it was for the woman. And I wrote a paper about that in my like freshman psychology class, the first one that I took. I can't remember what it was called. Um, and I got an F on it with zero explanation. I asked repeatedly why it was bad, and I got an F on it. When I went to business school, I submitted the same exact paper because I'm fucking lazy and I wasn't going to write a new paper on because it was a business psychology class. I
Yeah.
submitted the same paper, and the teacher was kind of like, "It was really uncomfortable reading your paper, but you kind of do have a point. Like I can't disagree with what you're saying." And I got an A, right? But she basically was saying like, "I don't like the paper that you wrote. Don't write like this again." But in psychology, you got an F, and I couldn't even get an explanation for it.
Yeah, I mean, going through, I actually really enjoyed my psych classes. But I took international development and a bunch of other classes, and I really realized like it was figuring out who your TA was and what they wanted and writing that. Like that's how you
Yeah,
got good grades.
I
It wasn't being
I
creative or
100% despise that.
yeah.
I had to actually transfer one of my business class, or no. What was it? It was a sociology class, like a military sociology. Um, when I got my fucking military studies degree, and it was in that field, but it was like a sociologist, and that was the thing. I had to actually get transferred out of the class because I disagree. I would fucking fight with the professor every chance I got because they were just fucking so ideological. Um, they were anti-war, like their whole mindset was anti-war, and they were teaching a class basically how the class was about the psychology of like being in war, and their
Yeah.
whole thing was it makes you a homicidal maniac and a fucking serial killer, and everyone who comes out of war is a horrible fucking person. And this is literally this was after my second deployment to Iraq. Like I wasn't even done doing war deployments. I was in the thick of it, and they're basically telling me that I'm basically a serial killer and I'm the scourge of the earth. So anything they said that I disagreed with, I made sure they knew, and I ended up having to transfer out of that class because of it. I ended up getting an A in the new class, but that teacher I was completely failing out of. And the Marine Corps was like, "Yeah, you're not getting your tuition assistance anymore if you don't fucking pass this class."
Uh,
Yeah,
I
good
mean, yeah.
times.
But like I've talked
I know
I
it. I know it's anecdotal, but
no, it's not. I mean,
it felt like the whole field was left, and there was no because even like in military studies, how many left wing people do you think are actually doing that field? And I still kept running into leftist fucking professors. And when I say leftist, I'm talking like what's his name? Scott Peterson, right? I always forget his first name. It's Scott,
I don't know.
Are you talking about
Oh,
the
oh,
fucking
Jordan.
Canadian guy.
No, Peterson is.
Jordan. Yeah,
Jordan
I
Peterson?
always forget his first name. I don't know why. Right? Like they would look at him and think he's like a right wing authoritarian. Right? That's like, and I'm talking
Well,
like far, far left, like so far left that as a conservative, I can't even have like a regular conversation with them because they lose their shit every time.
I mean,
Um,
I had a conservative high school teacher, and I
High
loved
school,
her.
yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
and
I
she.
don't. I try to look. I try to look for the breakdown of high school, and it depends. Like if you look state by state, you can find some states who've actually done that stuff. But my state, like I was actually going to go be a teacher because I was like, we need more of a conservative teachership because I live in the
Because the
middle of
two
fucking
sides are almost
KKK
supposed
land.
to balance each other out. That's the thing. Like it's.
Well, there's a leftist who's actually advocating for affirmative action for conservatives in universities. Like that's how bad it's gotten that you have a left-wing guy who's
Yeah,
advocating
Yeah.
for fucking affirmative action points for being a conservative. That's how bad our education system has got.
Yeah.
That's fucking like that hurts me inside. Like I actually have a feeling in my chest that I can't really describe of pain of just the thought of that's how bad our education system has got that they're actually
But I
considering
think it's a
affirmative
lot of
action points
education, and
for being conservative.
they've created conservatism to be this selfish, um, kind of, I don't know,
it's not
self-entitled.
selfish to
I
ask for
know.
what you're fucking owed. The original whole point of communism was that someone else was taking your means of production, but now the state and communists are trying to take your means of production and use it as a bargaining chip against you in their own favor, but
Uh,
claiming that it's their own means of what? What?
no, I was gonna ask Chairman a question. I
Oh,
cut you off by
go
accident.
ahead. Who cares?
Oh, I'm
I'm
just a
just
little drunk.
drunk ranting at this point.
I was blurting out. I was like, after I read his comment, he said, "Yeah, but uni is different." I can't remember what country he said he was from. I think he said he was Dutch,
Yeah, I think
but I
he
was gonna
said it was
ask him
Dutch as
where
well.
he's from. Um, but here's the thing: is like I looked at a lot of European. Some of my stuff I did distance education with University of Canterbury or Cambridge or something. I can't remember. But some of them I fucking did some of those because they were actually really pro-American student, and the tuition assistants actually covered it. So I actually did some online courses with British professors. I've had Indian professors, and you can find. I mean, they're out. There's conservative
I
professors
mean,
out there, but they're very rare, and you got to really search the globe. It's fucking horrible.
I just don't think like politics really was relevant to everything
It
when
has been since the '60s.
I mean, but I guess in the social sciences it really is though. You don't
It
find but
started
I
in the
think
social
in
sciences.
business, in the business programs and economic programs and the hard sciences, I don't think it's
No, no, yeah,
I,
the hard sciences, it's like 1 to 4 or one
and
to
I think
three.
clinical psychology is trying to lean towards the more
Diversify.
hard, yes, but no, but it
Yeah,
wants to be more of a hard science. Um,
Chairman Meow, you should come join our Discord. We will interact with you a
yeah.
lot more. It's in the
Um,
description of all of our channels.
my what my overlining point was a lot of the studies. Like I've used like 5 years ago, you fucking asked me like a fucking clinical study on anything, and I would take it as gospel. But the veil has been removed from my eyes, and I realized there's a lot of bias being put in these studies, like the soft
yeah, for
science
sure.
and the social science. They're completely fucking biased, and like the rape statistic, was it the 1 in 4 college girls will be
And
raped? I
but
totally bought that hook, line, and
I did
sinker
too.
without
I did
fucking
too.
question.
And I mean,
And
it's complicated
it
because you
pisses
always
me
feel like
off
you
just
know
to think
people
about
too,
it.
right?
It
So
pisses me off to think that I fucking believe that. Like I was fucking hoodwinked that fucking bad by, um, as I've actually really hated college since I was in fucking high school because there's like, oh, the left leaning, but I at least thought they had integrity. When I realized they didn't have integrity, it fucking pissed me off, and that's my own mental health issue, honestly. Like I have a problem dealing with that, like the bathroom laws in North Carolina. Right.
yeah.
I have a really hard time having discussions with people about that because they don't even read the law. They don't care. Like they sit in their echo chambers.
Why would
They
they?
develop these fucking opinions, and then you can't remove them from it, no matter what kind of facts and statistics you give to
Okay,
them.
okay, okay. I
And
got
then
pipe in
they
for the.
So
cite science, and it turns out the science is fucking bad science too.
I got pipe in for a second. I went back to school recently to upgrade some
I'm
bullshit.
sorry
And what? Well, why are you? Oh, right. Yeah,
because you went to
I'm
school.
also very very sorry. But I'll get
Oh,
into the
he's
actual
left wing.
horror
He's left
stories.
wing, but I forgive him.
Actual horror stories of being back in school for a few moments. But for the few moments I was back, there was posters all over the school. I think I even still have the fucking photos of these that said, if you see something you don't like in the bathrooms, don't ask. It's basically said there's transgender people and there's a bunch of in like whatever fucking people who identify as things and cross dressers, and if they feel more comfortable using the bathrooms, then who the fuck are you to question it? So just let it happen. Just let them use the bathroom and fucking leave it alone. On the other hand, almost every other fucking day we'd have a warning by the announcement system or whatever the fuck it was, and getting emails that there's constantly rapes occurring within the schools, and that we really have to watch out for. It's basically a see something, say something situation. So on one side we have them saying, so if you see a hairy man dressed as a woman hanging out in the women's bathroom, don't fucking say anything. It's none of your fucking business. He might be identifying as a woman. On the other hand, they're saying women keep getting fucking raped. Keep an eye out. And
Right.
this is one of those
And
huge.
no, but here's the best part. If you point out, you're like, yeah, I saw this dude hanging out in the girls' bathroom. You're a bigot.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean,
what the fuck
the
am I
thing that
supposed to do?
bothers the thing that bothers me about the 1 in 5 rape statistics on campus thing
Well,
is
they're at
that
1 in 3 now. The
what
last time
was
I
it? Yeah,
heard it,
they
it's
keep
one in
bringing
three.
it. They
It's
keep
going to be
bringing it
1 and 2 by
down.
the end of this year. I swear to
And
God.
they don't
That's my prediction. Hashtag
Yeah.
2017. 1 in 2 women will get fucking raped.
and they don't
No, it'll
say
be
like
2 out of 3
they
first.
say rape, like not an uncover will
Oh,
have unwanted sexual like they fully just say rape. And then what
because
is it like what the real statistics are
okay,
1 in 40? And it's just like,
Yeah,
okay,
but
well,
yeah, and it's like I think it was 1 in 27 for unwanted sexual contact. But it's not rape, like somebody groping you inappropriately at the
yeah.
bar,
But even one in
right?
40, like
Isn't even nearly anywhere close to what they're saying is the rape
but
statistic. That's
but even
fucking
1 in 40, like think about it. If you were in a lecture and an undergrad lecture is about like 150 people, that's still 3 girls in that room.
well,
That
no. Okay, so my whole point was I think rape is bad, it's deplorable, and we should fucking either chemically castrate rapists or put them to death. Those are my two options. Y'all decide which one of those two you like. I'll fucking pull the trigger, or I'll fucking plunge the needle. I don't give a fuck. I will execute them myself. Every one of them in my state.
It's
I'll do
because
it in all 50 states. I'll
they're
go on
saying
fucking
being
tour and
drunk is
execute the
rape.
rapist.
Yeah, like
No,
getting.
in California, that's the law.
Okay,
If I
guys,
have,
I think we're
like, me
getting
and my
way too off
fiance
topic.
were in California, we had sex, she was drunk and I was drunk, that was rape. So if we had broken up and then she went to the cops and said I raped her, by law, it would have been rape. So,
Yeah, and just
hindsight being
and
2020.
just the double standard of, as a man, if you're drunk, you're responsible for your actions, but as a woman, if you're drunk, you're not. Like, you're just too dumb of a woman, and you can't be held responsible when you're drunk. So, but
Right.
anyways,
Well, that's the thing. The mental health. California is very detrimental to mental health. Unless you're a very fucking bathe in the blood liberal. California is very detrimental to your mental
and
health.
just the
I was
idea of
depressed
rape
just being in the
culture is
state.
detrimental to mental health. Like, are you kidding?
No. I
Telling
was
you
gonna
that
say
everyone around you is gonna hurt you?
being being in Iraq was better for my mental health than being in Southern California as a conservative. That's how fucking bad it is. Being shot at and blown up on a regular basis, I felt like a better sense of purpose. I felt more centered and mentally stable than being in Southern California and dealing with the
Is
nonsense.
it because when you're overseas, getting shot at, you at least understand your purpose, but once you walk into
Exactly. Yeah,
California,
you
you don't even
100%
know what fucking
understand.
gender you are?
Well,
Exactly.
just to use that kind of as a segue, I don't know if you guys know about the show Loveline with Dr. Drew. I used to
Oh,
listen to
fuck
that.
off.
Yeah, so anyways, I used to listen to that show a lot, and there was a couple times where veterans would actually call in, and an interesting pattern, where they would talk about how they felt like the problems here are so minimal, and they felt so
They
disconnected to
are.
people because they're like, what is the bullshit you're complaining and crying about? Like, you haven't seen real suffering, you haven't experienced, like, you're sitting there getting upset over the Starbucks being closed an hour early, or that you're stuck in traffic, and this was such a difficulty for them to like reintegrate back when they came home. So I thought maybe you could talk about that and kind of segue into veterans mental health.
Okay. I hate Obama. And you might be saying, "Wait, what?" Okay. This is related. The reason is, one, he's like, "We're going to end the war in Iraq." Then he's like, "We're going to end the war in Afghanistan." Now, after the war in Iraq ended, it was basically a big fuck you to the military and everyone who served in Iraq, but it was a failure. And then he's like, we're going to end Afghanistan. Even though, look at what's going on in Iraq. He's like, let's end Afghanistan. This shit, like ISIS, was already on the rise. Like, we already knew this shit was going on. We're getting fucking intel briefs. And he's like, we're going to pull out of Afghanistan too. Somehow that's going to be a good thing. But the one thing that just like solidified my hatred of him is I did multiple deployments to Iraq, and I watched an ISIS video where that everyone says is fake, but there's a guy in one of the videos who gets shot in the fucking face with a shotgun. I knew him. I actually fucking drank tea with him. I'd been to his house. I know his family. He was a taxi driver in the city of Fallujah in Iraq. I fucking
Okay.
know him. He is an Iraqi. There is no if, ands, or buts about it. And I watched him get murdered in an ISIS propaganda video. That is Obama's fault, right? Now, mentally, the pull out of Iraq is all of the shit that went on there, everything that I've seen. For my mental health, I can say we were making a difference. And I have the lucky benefit of returning to the same place I had been and being able to see the difference that we actually had made. Because in one deployment, you don't see the difference, right? But I
Right.
left and I came back 9 months later, and it was a different place, and it was a better place. And I was like, wow, we actually did do something. There was an actual benefit from all the horse shit that we went through, all the fucking horrible things that we saw. Something is actually becoming better.
Yeah.
With the pullout of Iraq, all of
All of
that
that
was
was
thrown
lost.
away. ISIS moved in, took over Fallujah. So all these children that I fucking played soccer with at the field, that I got companies to volunteer soccer balls and pens and notebooks, and I took them to the school and we gave them out to the children and they played with our NVGs and we hung out with these kids and we were making a better future and a safe, secure country for them. And I'm watching them die in ISIS videos. So everything that I did and all the horrible events that I saw happen there, I know are completely washed away. They don't mean anything, which means every friend that I watch die, people that I watch get blown into itty bitty bits where all we could fucking find is a goddamn hand, was for nothing at that point. And so that's like a tidal wave of mental problems when all these things that you did and the horrible, horrible events that happened, and you're saying at least there was something good coming out of it. Like the horrible things are the pavement for the path to a better place for the Iraqi people. Even that was
Yeah.
taken away. And then you come to Southern California, and you literally have people who are complaining about the most mundane things you could possibly think of. Like, oh, the traffic's a little bit worse today. And they're throwing a fit. Like, you see people get out of their cars and fight on the side of the road because they're stuck in traffic and they have this fucking road rage. Um, I was on a motorcycle and I like feeling the wind and everything and I feel isolated and alone. I had a guy trying to run me off the road because I was doing the speed limit. Right? I wasn't going under the speed limit. I was doing the actual posted speed limit. I was abiding by the law. Tried to run me off the fucking road because of it, because I was slowing him down from getting where he wanted to go. Now, if you've ever rode a motorcycle, you know how fucking dangerous it is when a car swerves at you. People die like that every fucking day in this country.
Yeah. Yeah.
But these are the things that people are losing their shit about. It's like there's real shit going on, like Aleppo. Real horrible things are happening in Aleppo. That's the ISIS fucking capital. Russia's bombing it, Syria's bombing it, Yemen's bombing it, and Hillary
Iran
Clinton's
is
like, I want a no-fly zone. Like these things, I try to like put it out and think in the nuanced terms and like the big scale,
And they're
not
making
personally.
it seem like it's Russia and Iran's fault. Like all of this that's happening.
Well, there's the thing is, everything that Hillary Clinton was saying about Syria, I took personally. Right? Like it personally affects my mental health. Like I have a personal vested interest in the well-being of the people in Iraq and Syria, and I know that Hillary Clinton is responsible for all the bad things that are going on, and so is Obama. Most people don't have that same experience. Well, in Afghanistan, the majority of my squad was fucking killed throughout the deployment that I was fucking there. And Obama was the president at the time, and we're trying to get more airstrikes because we're getting hit. You're talking a fucking patrol of 8 to 10 guys walking on foot, getting ambushed by 30, 40, 50 guys with machine guns and fucking RPGs. And we can't even get an airplane to come and drop some fucking bombs on it. Right? Like they won't even bomb them. Like there might be civilians there. The Taliban in Afghanistan, after Obama was elected, started erecting Taliban flags on their buildings, and they set up their little fucking forts and erected flags. Like we were still there, and then we're like, okay, that's clearly a Taliban stronghold. Let's go fuck that place up. And the orders from upon high were that we leave them alone because there might be innocent people inside.
Yeah, and
inside an enemy stronghold.
And I think one of the things my dad used to tell me about, one of the things that the Taliban would do would purposely go into places where there were civilians and children, and they would go into populated areas and like essentially use human beings as shields.
Actually,
Isn't that the
I
most
trained
fucked
with
up thing?
an Israeli special forces unit for like a day. I wish I'd actually got to train with them more. But their whole job, what they do, is because of the Palestinians, they have like they're technically under Israeli control. The fucking Hamas and Hezbollah that operate within Palestinian territories, they will literally stand in a group of children and shoot over the children at the Israeli soldiers. So if it's the special force, like the Israeli soldiers are trained to retreat, right?
I mean,
Unless
at
they
least
start
that's a
taking
level
mass
better than
casualties.
child soldiers itself. So
No, that's actually worse. I would say,
use them as shield. At least the kids
depending,
protect.
right? Using the kids as shields versus compelling kids to shoot. I mean, there's a whole mental health issue. Like, there's a book called Memoirs of a Boy Soldier. If you haven't read it, go out and read it. You'll fucking.
We can add it to the book club list.
Yeah, I actually that was the toss up. I picked the Turner Diaries only because of the context of Fahrenheit.
Yeah.
But Memoirs of a Boy Soldier, like I read that, and like this is the guy's personal stories of what he experienced in the Civil War of Sierra Leone.
Yeah.
Um, and it's fucking horrific, and you have to remind yourself this kid was 11 years old seeing the most horrific shit you could ever fucking imagine, and other kids are like 8 years old going through the same shit, 7 years old. Try to remember what you were going through at that time if you read that book, and I definitely recommend that to
And I
read.
mean, again, and related to trauma and people going through trauma, and you guys
Well,
talking
yeah, I was
about
gonna segue to
the
that.
the the child and Pizzagate and stuff. I mean, human trafficking and child trafficking is a thing, and it's been happening, and it's one of the most horrific results of globalization is human trafficking. And I think
But
there,
I am a neocon,
So you
but
keep saying.
yeah, say like people are like, oh, globalization. It's like neocons are technically fall into that category, but where the liberate people, stop the oppression, let individuals make decisions for themselves, and stop the oppression. And I think that would actually stop the human trafficking aspect because a lot of
yeah,
countries are struggling. And it's like if you have a strong economy, even if we trade with you, you can still have a strong economy.
yeah, but even there's human trafficking in the States too.
Yeah,
I mean,
but
it's
the human
mostly,
trafficking in the States is minimal for American-born people. It's majority imports, like
yeah.
especially like Chinese, Southeast Asia, like or French Indochina, depending how old you are.
Yeah, I love how
Um,
Taken still makes it about the American girl, right?
right? Yeah. Which no, that actually does happen. A big problem with
In Europe.
tourism in Europe is the gypsies. They get their hot teenage daughters and they slut them up, and then they come and hit on you like, "Oh, come fuck me in this alleyway." And then when you go there, they knock you out and steal your organs. Not human trafficking, but actually organ theft is a
Human
big thing
organ
in
theft.
Europe.
That happens in
Yeah.
China too.
Oh,
Yep.
but that happens in China by the government. There's a difference.
Right. But my overall point was the trauma that this guy went through. He's dealing with it, and in America we have this society of not dealing with it, which is a problem that I have personally run into. Which is why getting an RV and fucking hiding myself in the woods on a fucking farm was the best idea. Because society was like, "Oh no, it's cool, it's fine," or they shun you. The VA practice is to basically medicate you to where you're basically comatose for 18 hours out of the day. That way, they don't have to deal with you and worry about you.
And like, here's the thing when talking about medication and therapy and all of these things, it's usually, and I hate to bring up the word privilege, but the ones that actually need mental health, like people who have severe mental illness, are not the ones who are getting the help. Like big pharma and serotonin levels are not going to help people who are like suffering from severe schizophrenia and severe bipolar and severe personality disorders, right?
Right.
So it's become just another industry to kind of like,
I'm anti big pretty much anything.
yeah. I mean,
Um,
one of the
well,
things
here's the thing. I think Walmart is very detrimental to mental health.
okay.
Yes. Every time I
Okay,
walk
well,
into a store,
here's
I want
what
to kill
like
myself.
Walmart. Walmart destroys small businesses. It has a great impact on life. It creates depression. Walmart is also funded by the government. Remind you people that I'm drunk, so if this doesn't make sense, ask me when I'm sober, and I'll make it all come together. Um, but I've spent a lot of time. Like I love working for small businesses. Like if I have a choice of where I'm going to work, a small business where I want to go, and yeah, they pay less, but um, they're making it. They're cutting out a niche in a market and things like that. Walmart kind of broadly does everything, not well, but they have such a big, financial backing from the was it fucking Walmart corporate that they choke out all the small businesses. People lose jobs, economies drop down. That causes like communal depression, especially like in small town America. A Walmart moves
Yeah.
into your town, you can basically guarantee that all the little mom and pop stores you like are fucking
Fucking
gone.
dead.
All the people who work there are fucking unemployed. They either have to go work for Walmart. Once Walmart's full, you're in the welfare line.
Yeah.
And those type of things are very detrimental to mental health.
And I mean, yeah, and bringing up like welfare and disability, even in Ontario, people who are on mental health disability, they get money each month, but there's nothing there for them to actually get mental health care. So it's
Well,
just,
there's also nothing to aspire to. Even if they
yeah,
got mental health care, what are they going to go out and aim for with their life?
right.
And I like
Except that that's not necessarily the case, right? Like you could still have a fulfilling life to a certain
no, no,
extent.
no, no. What I mean is, okay, so we talked about like way earlier in like the first like 20 minutes. The man's purpose in evolutionary terms
Yeah,
is to
and
provide for a family and create a family and have a family, be the provider and the protector, right? And being providing financially today is the same thing as being a protector, right? Like
yeah,
you're protecting your family by providing the roof and the food and everything they need, not necessarily fighting off fucking wolves and lions and shit.
yeah,
Um, when you're unemployed and let's say you do have mental health issues, even if you got that help, where are you going to go because they're choking out the jobs, right? Like the big picture of the mental health aspect of all the anti-capitalist or crony capitalism as they call it, or
yeah.
socialism, where is I think it overall has like it's like this umbrella of detrimental to the mental health of the society overall.
And I mean, I
And I
guess that
think that
kind of
also
leads
adds to that
into
increased depression.
a little bit of the millennial culture and the SJW culture. I mean, what does
It,
it say
it 100% does.
for guys today who are turning 30 and 40 and still live in their parents' basements or don't, but they're single
And they're not
and
Jewish. Hold, you got to clarify that they're not Jewish. It's
Right.
completely normal for a 30-year-old Jewish man to
and if
still
they
live at
don't live
home.
with their
All right.
parents, they're living with roommates, and it's this very like different kind of lifestyle. And there's no, I mean, I don't know. I actually see that through a lot of my friends and people that I know who come from good families. They've tended to try to settle down as soon as possible. Um, so, but apparently settling down and just being normal and having safety and security in your life is not
Conservative. It's
is
conservative.
yeah.
It's not liberal. It's
There you go.
conservative. We
Loki,
want a
he likes
real
crashing
relationship.
streams. Send him a fucking link.
Who?
The polar bear.
Do you want him in here?
Sure. He probably doesn't want to join. Jumping in a drunk person talking about
Well,
mental health
we're
and,
gonna
and
He
how I
finish
hate the
in
just
10
hit me.
government.
minutes.
Hold on, guys. He just hit me up on Twitter. I said hello. We fucking followed each other. He's going to show up if he wants to. He
Oh,
can join our fucking
are you gonna
Discord.
touch dicks?
Yes, absolutely.
He
Oh,
can
okay.
he yeah.
Anytime he wants to touch dicks, I am here in the Discord. I am here on fucking Discord.
There you go. He said he will. See. Anyways, what I was gonna say, but I kind of distracted myself a little bit.
So wait, are you saying
Mental
70
health, like the feminist narrative, I think is also detrimental to men's mental health.
And women's
Um,
mental health.
It's
well,
all mental health.
definitely,
It's
but
not just men's mental health.
it's related. But I think it by its detriment towards men's mental health, the collateral damage is female mental health. And what I mean is, they're like, oh well, marriage. That is not the thing that women should aspire to. Being a wife and a mother, that's not important. Go get a job and make money. Well,
That's
for the
not yeah.
man,
That's
evolutionarily speaking, is to provide for the woman. So now, if the woman goes out and gets a job, I have to provide even more. But here's the thing: you just added all the women to the workforce. You just doubled the competition for me to become a better provider for women. Right? So for me to find a mate to start a family with, you just doubled the competition for me. Right? So
yeah.
that's obviously detrimental to my health. Now with
And
the
women
women, you
who
have
do work
hypergamy.
want men who still make more money than them.
Right, who are more right, and that's what I say with hypergamy that is detrimental to the women because they're looking for men who are more efficient, who can provide more for
And then
them.
they just
Because
both live
and there's
miserable
I have
workaholic
absolutely
lives.
no problem with hypergamy. Like people think it's a bad thing. There is absolutely nothing wrong with that. Now, my personal relationship with my fiance is the complete opposite because I'm super maternal. I fucking love children. I like hanging out with them. I like the kids shows. I have a good time. I'm very, very much of an asshole towards adults, but when it comes to kids, I'm much more compromising and understanding and nurturing. I feel like once you're an adult, you should have your shit together, and if you don't, you can go fuck yourself.
Chat,
But
But with a kid,
let
like
me know,
kids
chat.
ask really, really stupid questions, and they're cute, right? And trying to like get them to understand things. It's really fun. And I spent time with kids and I teach them some science stuff. And like, oh, I love it. And it's the boys and the girls, right? I don't fucking gender them and be like, oh, well, science is for boys. And there are girls who are like really interested in science stuff. But
Okay, wait. I just before you go on,
yeah,
I
go
was
ahead.
going to end the stream at 10, so I'm officially saying the mental health live stream is over at 10 o'clock. If you guys choose to continue it and add other people, and it turns into a shit show, I no longer want that to be associated with
You
the.
you haven't watched his videos? He's got good videos. I like his shit.
So
Okay, no,
I've,
no, you
I've
can
worked with
invite him
all.
in, but
All
from
right,
here
I
on
was gonna say,
in,
like,
no, no. I'm saying invite
good.
him in, but I think we covered what we wanted to talk about.
Right.
So
Oh,
yeah,
I like going on tirades, especially when I drink.
so are we inviting him in or not?
Yes,
yeah,
yes.
yeah.
He said
Invite him in.
link, and I said invite him in.
okay.
I don't
There
know.
it
You're
is.
being oppressive.
Now on Twitter.
Fucking Russians. Soviet Union over there. Why don't you change your symbol to the sickle and hammer?
Oh, I wish I could, but that's just take.
Anyways, shit, what was I saying? So like the whole dynamic of my relationship is completely flip flop, and it makes me happy that Ben Shapiro exists as a
Yeah,
very
he's
as a
really good.
conservative that already is great, but people might not know Ben Shapiro was raised by his father. His father was a stay at home dad, and his mom was the one that worked. And I was like, well, shit, if that, it's anecdotal at best, but I'm like, okay, so that means I'll make better conservative children.
And you know that actually for children, having your father involved makes you a better, more well-rounded, healthier person. Like spending time and having a relationship with fathers is just as important as having a
it's
relationship with.
very important, and I think like this is completely.
Hello, welcome.
Hello. Hi.
Hello.
How are
I
you?
didn't want to cut you guys off.
Oh yeah.
I'm not too bad.
I'm drunk. You can cut me off whenever
This
you
will
want.
be
This
really-
is
I go on
officially
rants.
part 2.0, where we're
Right.
let now here. It's not structured anymore. As
Oh,
much as I tried to make that structured, I doubt it was. With
I
Trigger,
was
you make it difficult.
forcefully
But
committed into the mental health ward in Canada not too long ago, so I actually have some quite good insight
Oh.
into the
Okay.
mental health issues around here.
yeah, I would.
If you want to talk about it.
Oh yeah,
the
yeah.
floor is yours.
I have a full video on it. Like when I got out, about 2 hours afterwards, I just smoked a fat joint and sat down in front of the camera and just let it all out.
Wow.
The basic gist of it is that my marriage had ended, and because I'm disabled and I had nowhere to go, I was extremely depressed, laying on the couch for a few days. She didn't want to talk about it, so I just didn't want to eat or do anything. And she had called Quest, who came in, and I went in voluntarily to the mental health ward. They talked to me, and I was fine. I went home. I was ready to get on with my life. My wife was not happy with that. And the next morning, I got up, had breakfast, went out for a smoke, and when I turned around, there was 2 police officers there who brought me in and forcefully had me committed. And instead of being there for 72 hours, I was there for 5 days. I didn't eat the entire time. I didn't sleep the entire time. I went through nicotine withdrawal. I had no pain medication for my irritable bowel syndrome because you're not allowed to have medical marijuana in there. Caffeine withdrawal on top of that. I'm actually amazed that I did not kill the psychiatrist or that kept me in there.
Sorry, can I ask which town or city this is in?
St. Catharines.
Okay.
So he's local. He told us he's from Ontario.
Okay. No, because
See, I hate that. The only person who's close to me is Blair White, and she won't respond to me.
the reason
Okay.
the reason I was
I'll
asking
get on that. I'll get her to talk to you.
is because I actually do homelessness research, and I've worked on a study that's looked at like the effects of homelessness. And one of the things that I read a lot of transcripts from people from interviews with homelessness, and they talk about that of being institutionalized against their will.
It was the worst possible thing they could have done, especially considering that I had the people from Quest, 2 of the gentlemen that were confronting me. They went through similar situations. We had talked about it. They talked me down from my depression, and they're like, it's gonna get better. We went through this, that whole spiel. And the next morning, I was 100% ready to get on with my life and move forward. And then to be forced into that situation, because basically here's how it is. They bring you in. They're like, okay, well, we're going to commit you. And the first thing they do is they throw you into a rubber room. And I was in that isolation room for 7 hours with no idea that I wasn't going to be in there for 72 hours straight. And it's brutal being in that kind of isolation. Like
Especially the unknowing. I
Yeah,
bet the
exactly.
unknowing amplifies
Yeah, they don't
everything.
tell you what's going on. They're very, yeah.
It's
I
part of
mean,
the tactics,
So
though, to get you to
I,
tell.
I
wait,
want I want to just put this out there. I did interrogation training, and one of the big things is the unknown, right? So you want to psychologically torture
yeah.
somebody, it's the unknown. And
Oh,
basically, what
absolutely.
he's saying is they did the unknown. It's like that's what we do to torture people to get information out of them. That's definitely not what you want to do if you're trying to help people.
Oh,
And I
especially
mean, there
someone
was,
who's like crippling loneliness is their basic issue.
Right. Well,
and
that's what I'm
well,
saying. Is like the military, the CIA, the NSA, and a whole bunch of other agencies that you can't actually mention because they don't really exist. They all know that the unknown is a big detriment to your mental health. So if they're putting you somewhere, they should be explaining out the whole process as far out as they know how long it's going to go
but do you
and
guys
what's going to
remember
happen.
those experiments? There was, I forget who the psychiatrist was or psychologist was, but he started sending himself and other healthy, normal people into mental asylums. And they would purposely not show symptoms, but then over time they were still being treated as people who were mentally ill and were being held for like weeks and months, even though they were perfectly normal people. Just they just went in there and said, I have depression, or I hear people talk, and then they show no other symptoms. They just say these one for, and then they were kept in over for like how many. Loki, you were the one who showed me this actually.
I don't know about
Loki.
Canada, but in the U.S., there's a
Sorry, sorry,
48-hour hold.
What was I saying?
If you're suicidal, it can be 72 hours max. But they hold you, and they don't tell you how long they're going to hold you. I
Hold on.
mean, it's
That's-
kind of common
I
knowledge,
was
but at the same
asking
time, if you don't know, you don't know, and they don't tell you.
the experiments where the guy who sent himself and a few other of his students in, and they just said one thing of one mental illness feature they had, but then they didn't act. They did showed no other symptoms, and then they were still kept in the hospital for like weeks and months.
Oh, okay. There was a slightly social experiment. I'm gonna air quote social experiment because it's not the same thing as a YouTube social experiment where you just go around grabbing girls' butts and then say it's a
Wait,
social
hold on. I
experiment.
have to point out, since this is your first time in a stream with us, you'll have to speak over us if you have something to say.
Well, I was going to say that I could have been potentially in there for 2 weeks to a month had I lost my temper once. And I'm not kidding. I was threatened with that because the first time I sat down with the main guy who was my psychiatrist, whatever the fuck he was, he told me that like he wanted to bring my wife in and have her sit down and reconcile. And the two officers from Quest told me that the worst thing they did was have their wife involved. So I was under no circumstances did I want her there to have anything to do with it. And he kept insisting. I got upset, of course, and I walked out, and he followed me out and threatened that if you get mad, we're going to trank you and throw you in U-Wing for 2 weeks.
Yep, pretty
And then,
much.
like, I ended up being in there for 5 days because I refused to interact with that individual because of his hostility and his demeanor.
Okay. Here's the supporting argument. There's somebody who decided to go do. I think it was an investigative news story, but it was also like a social experiment to see what would happen if somebody called the fucking crazy police on him. I'm fucking drunk. I'm sorry. Well, basically, there was not just him, but a few other people who were involved in the situation, and they were admitted into these mental hospitals when they were just normal people who were actually screened ahead of time by psychiatrists with zero symptoms of any of that shit, and they were kept in there with against their will, completely against their will, without a single fucking symptom for months at a time. It wasn't until later where they actually came out and they were actually released that they came out and requested their records back. And the records that the doctors came out were completely fucking insane. Like one of the guys, he's completely normal guy. He was just brought in, fucking diagnosed, and he was diagnosed with schizophrenia and paranoid delusions the entire time he was in there. He's like, I just wanted to get out. I was just telling him, I am not actually sick and I want out. So he was diagnosed with fucking paranoid delusions.
Wow.
And there was several
I am
of these
terrified of being committed. I am terrified.
Yeah, no, it was one of those
Well,
experiments where they
I
weren't
have
safe.
anger issues. I know I have anger issues,
Ooh.
but I can leave situations. But being committed, I can't leave.
Yeah,
Like,
I know
I'm
a few
stuck
people
in
who
it.
told
It's
me they
fucking
would be stuck
terrifying
in
me.
there for months
No,
because of that.
No, these
I
guys
would lose my
were
shit so quick.
They
I
were
couldn't-
perfectly normal individuals who were just like reporters and just volunteers.
Right, that's what
who
I'm saying. I'm
literally
not a
got
perfectly
fucking
normal
stuck.
individual.
Neither am I.
Right, exactly. Like it should terrify you too.
No, but what does that say when like perfectly normal individuals get falsely fucking admitted into mental hospitals and get stuck there for months on end, creating false diagnosis along the way? when these people got fucking treated by I guess tested
It's
by
worse than
psychiatrists
prison.
ahead of time. It is worse than prison.
It's way
Because
worse.
now
At least in prison,
Yeah.
you have rights, and then you can
Yeah.
actually get a lawyer. They constantly say on all the paperwork you have the right to a lawyer, but there's no way to contact one because they will not give you a phone book. And if they will let you on the computer, but all the websites are blocked, you cannot actually get access to a lawyer any way, shape, or form. So you're treated as guilty 100%. You're there. You need to be there. We're keeping you here.
This is one of the things I wanted to bring up is that the mental health treatment, at least in North America, and it's probably the same in Europe as well, is you don't have any of the. It's not like you're treated like a criminal without any rights, and nothing that they do to help, in quotations, mental issues is actually helpful. I blame Reagan. Fuck Reagan. His whole, like, they basically were like, oh, we're not going, these crazy people aren't that crazy. Let's let them out into society.
Yeah, and that's why you have homelessness problems.
But now when you look at the way mental health is handled, it's fucking bad. Especially if you have a mental health issue. Like, if any of us were, like, if I was committed, I know I have mental health issues. If I was fucking committed, I'd probably never be let out. Right?
Somebody who's on waiting for assisted living.
Yeah. The interesting thing about that case, though, is that once the hospitals found out, they had an awakening and they're like, oh my God, this is horrible. We're going to double down on it. And then they said, do it again. Send them to us again, and let's see if we can catch them. And they did it another round, and the same thing happened. They didn't catch them.
They don't pay attention.
They don't.
I mean, at least in Canada anyway, they spend, I would say, at least 90% of their time in a little cubicle doing work, and nobody is supervised, nobody's being paid attention to. Like, every now and then a patient will go up and, like, want to ask for something, and they get blown off. No, sorry, we got too much paperwork to do, or whatever their excuse is. They never miss a break either. It's phenomenal.
I would say that there's a lot of organizations and places that are really, really trying. It's just it's a complicated thing. And then the thing with mental, like, severe mental illness, it obviously overlaps with addiction, and then overlaps with homelessness, and then overlaps with other kinds of disabilities, and then overlaps with other chronic health issues. So it's not just a one, like, I don't know what really the solution is. For some, it's increasing access.
I can tell you exactly what the issue is, how to make that place better. One would be to have at least 1 to 2 nurses on the floor at all times to just look around, because you can see when people are getting anxious or getting worked up, and they just need somebody to talk to them for a few minutes to get them down instead of just ignoring them the entire time. Is one of the biggest issues that I had in there. And I think that really got me the most is that my ex is a registered nurse. She's almost a nurse practitioner at the moment. She's just got to do her final test. So she knows exactly what goes on in there.
Yeah.
And she knew exactly what I was going to go through and still did it.
What the fuck was that?
What the hell is that? What just happened?
Good.
Oh, no. I think it's Trigger's microphone. They just went out.
Oh,
he may have
okay.
walked out of range. Sorry. I think, Sigyn, I muted you. You keep going.
No, I'm okay. Yeah, I mean, the other issue is that they're understaffed. They are overworked. They don't, like, there's such a high turnover rate with psychiatric nurses. And so, yeah, and then it's just a frustrating circumstance for everybody. And so their mental health well-being is also at risk being in those kinds of environments, right?
Well, I would say that one thing I've noticed that is very common amongst nurses is that they become very cold very quickly, and it's like they've seen it all, so very little phases them.
Yeah, but
What sucks balls being married to one.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
That's a tough job.
It's really hard to distinguish between when someone's faking and when someone isn't. So the best way is to just get cold to it all and see how they react. And it's kind of hard when you're, let's say, related or within a relationship with somebody who is just generally used to being really cold to people.
I feel like I missed something.
Yeah,
What
yeah.
Much.
What the fuck happened to your microphone? You just fucking went buzzing for a while.
I muted it, and then I set it down, and I guess it unmuted itself.
You did not mute it. That's the one thing you did not do.
Oh, what did you hear? No, because they were talking, and then I fucking
Just buzzing.
Really loud buzz.
Just a loud hum.
Oh yeah, it fucking the power, because it's the wireless headphones.
Oh.
The power thing fucking went like halfway in between. I don't know. It's weird.
So how Ega, how long were you kept?
I was kept for 5 days, and I should not have been kept longer than 72 hours that I was originally put in there for. But because they they will not let you talk with PR, so when I had an issue with the first person that was assigned to me, the first psychologist, when I refused to have him as it, they would not give me another one. They would not reassign me to another one. So I had to wait for the weekend psychiatrist to come along, who said, "Well, all the staff here seems to think you're okay and ready to go home, but." I'm not so sure. In other words, what he said flat out is, well, I'm not risking my license. Even though all the staff here says
Right.
you're perfectly fine and willing to go home, you're here for another 2 days. And then I ended up having to sit down with that same psychiatrist, but I had the charge nurse there that time. That way he couldn't try the same bullshit on me. He couldn't try to bully me or use any of those kind of little wormy tactics that he did before.
And it was a psychiatrist?
Yeah, I guess.
Okay.
Well, psychologists are fucking hella expensive, and the
Yeah.
government isn't willing to pay psychiatrists. Sorry, they're willing to pay psychiatrists. They're not willing to pay psychologists. So psychologists, the people who are actually meant to deal with your mental disorder, as opposed to just prescribe you drugs, are the ones that aren't being fucking blatantly available to people in mental institutions. Just the psychiatrists who want to just drug you the fuck up, and
Yeah, pretty much what they wanted to do. But I
Yeah.
refused them because I knew I didn't need them. I knew what
Yeah,
my
see,
problems were.
That's one of the benefits of the VA being so inept. Like, I went in, I was like, I won't take your drugs. And like, oh, okay, you don't get your fucking disability then. I was like, okay, and I left, and that was it. The civilian side though is more like, oh, well, we're gonna commit you for fucking 48 hours if you don't, and then they force you to take your drugs. So I mean, there's a plus side, right?
yes.
None that I saw.
No, I'm saying the VA being inept.
Yeah.
I don't like taking medication.
What he's trying to say is they're not hunting him down with tranquilizer rifles, trying to fucking
Exactly.
crank him to give him the medication he's supposed to be on.
Yeah.
which they
He's
which
left
they
to
do
run
in the
free.
civilian side.
Yeah,
If you're like, I don't want to be here, they don't give a fuck. The VA, they're like, oh, you'll save us money. Fucking bye. Don't shoot up any place. That's about it. The ineptitude, but there are people
Although then, but
that refuse it.
you do say you're against medication, but there's a lot of people with mental illness that
No, there are
self-medicate.
people who need
No,
medication.
not against it. I'm not
Right.
against it.
Medicate. No, me. I'm
Oh, okay.
against it. I'm like radical against medication. To be honest, I'm not an
Depends the person and the
anti-vaxxer,
circumstance.
all right? Vaccines are good. Vaccinate your fucking children, you pieces of shit.
Yeah, my issue is like the band-aid solutions. Like if you're going through a small
That's
bout
my
of depression
feeling, like-
because of life,
Yeah.
and they give you this band-aid drug,
There's too much.
you're not dealing with the problem.
Too easily dispensing of the medications. It's not
Yeah,
good.
yeah. Here's a pill. Go right back
Yeah.
to work, and then you're not dealing
Right,
with your
like,
problem. So
there
as soon
are
as you
things
miss
that
the
need
pills,
medication,
You're
and if it's
you're
your
in trouble
thing,
again.
yeah. If there are things that need medication, and if you have those things and you're okay with it, take the medication. But they want to give them out too easy. You need to make sure that you actually need the drugs and that there isn't a better non pharmaceutical solution first.
I mean, yeah, and this kind of touches on what we were talking about before, where depression is kind of a sign of there's something in your life that needs to be fixed, that needs to be changed. If you're not enjoying things that you would have normally enjoyed, you have to ask yourself, and that's why I do believe in therapy, and I don't try to push it on anyone. I try to push it on people who want it. Right, like
Yeah,
whoever
yeah.
actually, like for someone, if you want it and you're actually committed to changing and helping yourself, it's a really good way. And I've personally gone through it, and one of the things that I've had a variety. There's been bad therapists, there's been good therapists, there's been ones where I felt like I was doing all the work myself. They were just sitting there and doing nothing and not even paying attention.
That's because they're shitty psychiatrists.
Oh, I have an anecdotal story.
Yeah.
I went through some abuse as a child, and my mother reported it to the state, and I had to go see a psychiatrist. The psychiatrist tried to convince me that I was sexually abused and that I was suppressing it.
Yeah,
Like, I'm an
that
open
happens.
person. If people ask me
Okay,
questions,
okay,
I will answer them. They're like, well, you're so open about this abuse. You must have been sexually abused and you're repressing it.
Guys,
Do you know
That
that
didn't
actually?
happen.
Do you know
Guys.
that split
I had to fight
personality
with it for
disorder?
8 hours straight. I fought as a fucking child with a fucking psychiatrist. No one has ever sexually abused me.
guys,
Fucking drop this shit. It didn't fucking happen.
I'm going
I
to admit
I
something.
couldn't convince him. Like it's in my
I
fucking
guess
record
I guess
that
I'm
they
just not
wrote
going
that
to
I've been sexually
admit it
abused
on
as a
this.
child. It didn't happen. All right.
Do you know that there's some theories that a split personality disorder is not a real disorder and it's something that's made up by psychiatrists and psychologists
Yes,
and
I
them
am actually on the
projecting?
fence. I'm on the fence about
Yeah, I've heard
that.
that too.
But you
I kind of
just
need
talked
to. I
about the
need to
split
fucking
personality
see it for
CIA
myself, to be
in
honest.
fucking development.
Right? Yeah, I've read that, and she like and I read those stories. I'm like, now she could be making that shit up, and she knew all along, right? Because I mean,
But they're saying they can
factual
create it
evidence
in their
that she
clients.
did. No. As I said, in the CIA op, there's factual evidence she did CIA operations. I would like to know if she's making up the split personality to be like, oh, I didn't know that I was doing that stuff, but I think she was doing it herself. And like, there's a plenty of it's the same thing with like climate change. Like the whole argument is like there's plenty of evidence on both sides that is basically comparable, and it's hard to say if split personalities is a real thing or not. I mean, it's fun for movies though. It's great in movies and TV. I don't know. What do you guys think? You think it's real split personalities?
There is like some sort of a
There's
dissociative
dissociative.
disorder,
It's
but
changed now.
that's
It's
real.
not.
But like, I don't think there's the whole like you're this person one day, that person the next day. I've heard that doesn't
Right,
Hold on,
yeah.
hold on, hold on. As somebody who's looked into child mental fucking disorder, fucking mind control in Hollywood to a great extent, and as the resident conspiracy theorist of you all,
You definitely are.
absolutely.
Well, I
The
don't
whole
know.
point.
Ego might be a fucking conspiracy theorist.
No.
No, okay,
Okay,
well, I
yeah.
am.
He
Uh,
really
There's-
is.
people do conspiracies, but I don't have any theories about them.
Okay, he does.
I have plenty of theories of my own, as well as being quite knowledgeable about other conspiracy theories. The whole point of
Wait. To
creating,
clarify, he is not a flat earther, people. Not a flat
I know
earther.
I'm
Well,
not.
I can clarify as an example of like back in the day in the States, they had the trolley system and it was clean, affordable. There was three major corporations that got together, had people go in and buy them out, close it down. That was a conspiracy that was revealed. Like I believe in those things do happen.
Yeah, well, yeah, there are definitely things like the Vietnam War in the United States. The U.S. Navy provoked it, and we're like, "Oh no, the North Viet Cong are just shooting at us. What do we do?" And then they started a war, and the whole narrative was the North Viet Cong just fucking attacked the fucking U.S. Navy. Really, the U.S. Navy went into the North Viet Cong territory and were provoking them, and they reacted. Was it like 10 years before that shit actually finally came out? Like, there are conspiracy theories that are true, but we didn't land on the moon. Let's be honest here. We put satellites in the air long before we actually went to the moon. The Russians did it. We did it. It was a fucking common thing. It only takes 10% of the actual energy effort to get the rest of the way to the moon after leaving the atmosphere. So it's actually easier to land on the moon than it is to put a satellite in the Earth after you put the satellite in the orbit.
Yeah, putting satellite into orbit was the major achievement. There's a reason
Yeah,
the Nazis
exactly.
didn't do it, but did everything else. And on
Yeah.
the other hand, if you guys want, I'm working on putting together one live stream with me and a few other people who know about conspiracy theories and secret societies. And we will be discussing a lot of really interesting things. But who cares about that right now?
I care. I care all the time.
Then we'll talk about it some other time. But right now, let's talk about trauma-based mind control.
Ooh, oh, that's a real thing. That is real. That's not a theory.
But that's the split personality thing. What the theory states is that you create such a strong and impactful trauma onto somebody that this may be torturing them in a room or sexually torturing them for a while to the point where their mind snaps and creates an alternative personality, a happy place or a safe space for these people to go during the trauma. This has been recorded. This is a well-known fact that this does happen, where people just kind of drop out of their minds and just go somewhere else, and they kind of blank out. What the scientists said that they can do is that once the person blanks out of their body, another personality takes over, and it's that personality that you want to train and to endure pain and other things, and even train it to kill, to be the Manchurian candidate. Hollywood apparently is like that. That's why people like Johnny Depp, for example, never wants to see what's happening on screen. He's endured his own trauma-based mind control, according to his family records, and now only he basically turns his acting personality on to be the person he is, as Jack Sparrow, for example, and to act out the ridiculousness that he does, while maintaining his own integrity, I guess. That's why he even claims he's never watched a movie he was in. He doesn't want to know what's actually happening on screen because he doesn't remember any of it. Anyway, so that's the basis of
What's
trauma-based
that?
mind control.
Was it Heath Ledger?
Yes.
He did the what the fuck was that movie? Something Semporium. That fucking long ass, stupid, ridiculous name. He died during the making of that film. The whole thing was he was a method actor. Like he wants to put himself in that role and then become that person.
Yes.
And it's a very pliable personality, and he ended up killing himself because of it, because he was trying to be that role.
Wait,
I understood it. He had problems beyond that, as a lot of people do in
a lot of method actors do, because they're probably, if they play a crazy role, like the Joker obviously was a crazy role. It's hard to shake what that is. Like they change their personality. They're very pliable personalities. Like Stockholm Syndrome is one of the things. Like if you're a pliable personality and you're held hostage, you become fucking sympathetic to your captor or your abuser.
I have to interrupt. Someone mentioned Johnny Depp. Aside from me, actually, the thing there is that Johnny Depp isn't really much of a method actor, as much as Johnny Depp was really good friends with Hunter S. Thompson. And if you notice, he has. If you guys ever watched Fear and Loathing Las Vegas, that was a movie about Hunter S. Thompson, and Johnny Depp is actually really good friends with Hunter S. Thompson. Soon after that movie was finished being filmed, Hunter S. Thompson put a fucking Magnum 45 in his mouth and blew his brains out. Johnny Depp was really good friends with him, and since the last role he played, he's pretty much hasn't stopped playing Hunter S. Thompson, Pirates of the Caribbean, for the next like 30 years, and hasn't done anything of substantial since then. So I just need to point that out.
But disagree, but I can't pull it off the top of my head because I know he's done other roles that were quite good. But I just can't think of what they were in between. Oh, definitely after. I mean, the movie's so old.
But like if you look at Fear and Loathing Las Vegas, and then you look at Pirates of the Caribbean, he's pretty much playing the exact same character. And he knew.
Don't get me wrong. He doesn't have the greatest range.
No, he really doesn't.
A lot of people does. You know.
Do
anybody try to say that like Tom Cruise has great range? It's like no, he doesn't. He pretty much places himself and everything.
Yeah, he's got a great sprinting capability. He runs a lot.
Oh yeah, he's running away from his gay tendencies. We all know that.
What is that? The one where he's a vampire.
Oh shit.
Shit.
See, that means none of us watched it. We wanted to, but none of us watched it.
My fucking fiance loves that movie. I think it's shit, but
we'll yell at her.
I like Sweeney Todd. I didn't like that one.
I was just looking. Yeah, that one is good. That one he's not he's
different, but he's not. It's really not that diverse. What is that movie that Johnny Depp he was a vampire that you like?
I know.
Dark Shadows.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
There it is. The chat caught up just in time.
See, she's good for something. She's gonna come hit me.
Let me see. Well, Sleepy Hollow, Astronaut's Wife, Chocolat. Chocolat is definitely.
Wait, was that Antonio Banderas with Salma Hayek?
No.
Sex scenes? Boobs?
I don't know.
Chocolat. That's about the woman.
No, that was Johnny Depp.
Oh yeah, that was him and was it?
I'm just listing off a few that that don't fall into the criteria that you just gave.
Whoa, was
Blow
before or after?
Blow.
Yeah, but that
Blow
was a bad movie.
I liked
Blow was a good movie.
Secret Window.
That was.
Secret Window was a little bit Johnny Depp.
I'm just going for character wise. One that is not like Jack Sparrow or
Sleepy Hollow. He was good. Was it The Man Who Cried? He was different, but it was. I didn't like the movie.
The Astronaut's Wife, but he was still kind of antisocial. Yeah, okay, that one's a fair one.
Well, I'm just looking through the IMDb, and it's like.
Well, Donnie Brasco was a year before.
That's Brad Pitt.
No, that's after.
It's 1 year before.
Donnie Brasco is not.
Donnie Brasco was 1 year before.
Oh, sorry, you're right.
Yeah, if it crosses the year, but it was like 6 months.
Yeah, okay. I see that.
Well, it was the same thing. Like, was it 12 Monkeys and?
That was Brad Pitt again, and
no. Hold on, I'm trying to think. Yeah, I'm talking about Brad Pitt. He
Wait,
was
wait,
in
wait,
that
hold
other
on,
one.
hold on.
Interview with a
Since we're on the topic,
Vampire, 12 Monkeys, and what is that fucking one he was in? It's
Snatch.
Fifth Element.
Snatch.
no,
Snatch.
no, it's the 1920s something.
Legends of the Fall.
Legend of the Falls, yeah. He was in Legend of the Falls and 12 Monkeys. He actually filmed those at the same time. Neither one of them came out.
That was when he was
Legend of the
amazing.
Falls came out before, and that's what gave him all the notoriety
Uh-huh.
of 12 Monkeys.
Guys,
It was an indie film.
Since 12
But I
Monkeys
love
got
12
brought up, since 12 Monkeys got brought up,
And
12
Anthony
Mon-
Hopkins was in that too.
Shut up. 12 Monkeys is one of those legendary fucking movies that everyone should
It
go watch
is.
to find out why Bruce Willis is even an actor. Okay, that's the last
Yeah,
movie he
honestly,
actually
yeah.
acted in. That's an
So,
amazing
but
movie.
Brad Pitt had a lot of
with-
good
He was
movies.
good in
No.
The
Snatch
Sixth
was good.
Sense,
Fight Club
right?
was good.
Like
He
I
also
love
wasn't bad
all-
at Unbreakable, but I've seen the most
Fuck
amount of
Unbreakable.
acting he's
Oh my
done
God, I hate that movie.
has been in 12 Monkeys. This is why Brad Pitt and fucking
Definitely, yeah.
Oh,
Brad Pitt's role in 12 Monkeys, I think, is what made his career. Like the
No, his
Legend of
role
the
in
Falls-
Fight Club
No,
is
no.
what made his career.
No, Meet
No,
Joe
no.
Black
Legend
made his
Legend of the
career.
Falls gave him notoriety, right? Like it gave him notoriety, and they're like, "Oh, who's this guy?" 12 Monkeys was made popular because Brad Pitt was in it, and he was in Legend of the Falls. But his like portrayal of a crazy guy in that was like this whole other level of acting that he hadn't
Yeah,
fucking
he was
shown before.
That was amazing. I mean,
Like, he was a crazy person, and he was good at a crazy person. And
have
it
you
showed
seen him in
his
Snatch too?
range.
Because he does that there
Yeah,
as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it completely changed because you looked at Legend of the Falls, and then a couple months later, 12 Monkeys came out, and he was a completely different actor in that
I
movie.
think Burn After Reading was probably one of his better roles.
Yeah, that was
yeah.
was the last good movie he did.
Why is that movie so underrated? I watched
It
it.
was
I'm like,
so
this is
good.
No
great.
idea.
Well, that's
It's
like
too good.
Leonardo
You actually have to,
DiCaprio. I
have
fucking
some
hated
taste.
him for so
He's
long.
the worst actor ever. I really
Still
don't think
is.
he's a
Leonardo?
good actor. Yeah, he plays
No,
a
okay.
tortured, like he's always just playing a tortured, chain smoking guy who's
Have you
been like
seen Django?
brokenhearted.
Have you seen Django?
Yes, I have seen. Yeah, that's the only time he played something different, and that's the only time I've
Well,
ever
I don't know.
acknowledged him.
I think what's
And
even
he
over
in
Grape
Naked
was like
New York.
his best role ever.
Yeah,
He played
exactly.
himself.
Yeah,
I've yet
yeah,
to see
that was a great movie. But
what's
after
even
that,
good
I was
about
kind of like,
Grape-
oh fuck this guy, because he was doing like all
same
the
thing.
the
He's doing-
female fucking pandering movies.
I know.
but
Like
then he
I
came
love
out
a
on his
lot
own,
of his
like-
movies.
Yeah,
no, I
a
mean,
lot of his
Inception
movies
was
were
still really
fucking
good.
good.
Shutter Island was good. Blood Diamond
yeah,
was
exactly.
good.
That was the one I was gonna. The Shutter
Wait,
Island.
wait. Did we see Shutter
Blood
Island
Diamonds,
together in
I
theaters?
fucking love
We
because
saw
I
it in
had
theaters, and then I watched it again,
fuck
and I
world.
actually liked it better the second time around.
fucking was it
Why those
Shutter
ones-
Island? He was really really good.
But he still kind of played a tortured, chain smoking,
tortured
guy
detective.
who's been in some sort of relationship trauma. There's always a woman involved that's like destroying him or killed him somehow. Django was the only exception, and maybe Catch Me If You Can. That
What-
was
no,
also another really good one.
What was the other one? The one he did, The Wolf of Wall Street.
I
The
hated
Great
that
Gatsby.
movie.
You hated the Wolf of Wall Street. What's funny is about it is people watch that and they're like, it's outrageous, it's asinine. That's actually based on a true story.
Yeah,
Like,
that's a
that
true
dude
story,
like
I
was
know.
straight
Guys,
up like
guys,
crazy.
what was that last
Um,
Tarantino movie? The one in the cabin.
Did you watch J. Edgar?
No, the
Watch
movie you're
J.
talking about was
Edgar.
Hateful Eight, and I thought
Hateful
that
Eight.
was
Okay, so sorry, blah blah. I love Tarantino. I've loved him since my teen years, but Hateful Eight was kind of one of those movies that just kind of went nowhere. I liked Inglorious Bastards more than I liked Hateful Eight.
I liked Inglorious
I
Bastards
loved it,
more than I
yeah.
liked Django.
I
I
want my
loved
Nazi
Inglorious
scalps.
Wait, no, Brad Pitt was good at Inglorious Bastards.
Well, as a Jew, because I got to throw that out. Apparently, to Loki, I have to throw that out every live stream.
You can't
Watching
start-
them just
hold on, shut up.
Dump
You
a
can't
fucking
keep
magazine
opening
of
my
like
li-
100 rounds
Trigger,
into
Trigger.
fucking Hitler's face. Which
Trigger. You can't keep opening my live streams with white power, and then not
right?
expect me to be like, actually point out that you're fucking doing it ironically or something. Because I lose subscribers every fucking stream I do with you. Which is all
No,
of them, by the way.
You lose subscribers because the algorithm. Every time you upload something, you lose subscribers. That's the algorithm.
Yeah.
All right. It's
Actually,
not.
I have
See,
to,
look,
to be
there you
honest,
go.
it's
I
been a
got
bit since
someone
I've
else.
seen that, but
Back-
yeah, almost every time. Although to be fair, recently
the
I've been getting
algorithm's
so many
fucked
more, so I kind of don't notice.
Exactly. Yeah. If you add enough subscribers to compensate for it. But going back, I love Blood Diamonds, but I have like a Africa's Got Problems infatuation. But that was a really good movie. I really loved that. And I thought his portrayal in that was different than what he normally had done before that. That was when I started becoming a Leonardo DiCaprio fan, because before I thought he was just fucking eye candy. You
Me
know, like
too.
they put him
But
like the Man in the Iron Mask. I thought he
Yeah,
could have done a lot better job in that movie.
Yeah.
Gangs of New York, same thing. I thought he was just there as like eye candy.
He was.
The Aviator,
Both
I
of
was
those.
like, oh, that's good. The Departed, I love The Departed, but I don't like Leonardo DiCaprio in that. But that same year is when Blood Diamond came out. And then when I look back at The Departed, I had a newfound respect for him. And then Shutter Island came out a couple
What about
years after
Titanic?
that.
Don't you love him in Titanic?
Fuck no. Actually, that was the one thing that made me fucking hate him was Titanic.
The
I
number one
fucking hate
grossing movie
everything about
of
that movie.
all time, just of all time, and it's yet to be. Has it
Yeah.
yet to be broken? I think it's
'Cause of
Avatar. Avatar
vagina.
broke it. I'm sorry, I was
'Cause of
13. I got
vagina.
to see tits several times because that movie had tits.
See, yeah, and fucking teenage boys who never had sex.
The City
That's it.
Spiders.
It's the
What the
only
fuck are
reason.
you doing here in the last fucking 20 minutes of the stream?
Who?
Go
Oh,
to
Oh,
the
probably
yeah.
because I put a tweet out and telling people to come join us. That's why
Oh.
there's people randomly falling in now.
All right, that's awesome. Thank you so much. Also, if you want to come join us on our next dumpster fire,
Yeah, actually, I tried to
okay, but
I
he's
left
here now,
comments
so you
on
can
a bunch
just
of your
ask him in
videos.
person.
yeah, I left comments on your videos. I was like, hey, I got a live stream that I do every Friday night. You should come join.
You guys
Never
are
got a
kidding me. I
response.
never got them.
Yeah,
I
never got a
obsessively
response.
check my damn comments, and I have never seen that.
Okay,
There
you
was
two dumb, but you're
you
dumb.
and Satan. I can't like Cy Aiton or something like that. I can't remember what he fucking does his
Oh, he
name.
was here earlier.
No, somebody was shilling for him. They were posting his fucking links, and I was like, yeah, tell that guy that I fucking invited him. There was you and Prince of Queens and him that I fucking invited. None of you responded.
What video?
I felt really left out. A couple different videos. I actually watched your videos.
Because I always, every day, it's like 3-4 times a day, I go and check my comments just to see if there's any new ones, and I'm usually like right on top of it. The fucking notification system is shit.
It's complete.
It really is. It hasn't been letting me fucking respond to comments on my videos.
That's
Because it
been
fucking
retarded as
hates
well.
me.
I don't get notices if I comment on somebody else's video and they reply back. I never get notifications for those.
Well, never look.
No,
We're here now. Look,
Yeah,
we're here
I
now.
fucking.
We do dumpster fires on fucking Friday nights. If you have I know you're in the same time zone as me. If you are available at 10 o'clock next Friday night, we're going to be doing dumpster fires.
No, from the 10th to the 20th, I have real life to deal with, so I can't do YouTube in that regard. But
these things
after
happen.
that, I can.
Fine. The week after that, then we'll schedule you for the 27th at 10 p.m. on Eastern Standard Time. The whole point is to show up drunk and have
I
no
don't
idea.
drink.
Oh,
No, that's fine. That's fine.
intoxicated? Did you smoke weed?
Well, I had to quit because I was spending $500 a month for my pain medication, and since since I'm getting divorced and I'm no longer have financial support, like I have severe irritable bowel syndrome, so I'm in intense chronic pain all the time. So getting high helps me eat, helps me sleep, but I got to learn to live without it. Yeah, life's fun. Sorry to be a
Buddy of mine
downer.
has irritable bowel syndrome. He also got the fucking marijuana prescribed to him.
It helps,
Does
but
it?
they don't. It's not covered under any plans. So what the hell can you do?
He has it covered to a certain degree.
Well,
but
I must
then
have an
again,
amazing plan.
I think he got something. No, what the fuck did he do? I don't remember what the fuck he did. He did something. He may have been covered under his mom's plan, so that's another thing.
Oh, my!
So-
I was going to
sorry,
say my ex works for the government, so I don't know how much of a better plan you're going to get.
Okay. Oh, whatever. So yeah. So we'll try and have you on the 27th.
Okay,
Yeah,
just
the 27th.
remind me.
I'll tweet at you now that I have.
All right.
Join my Discord server. Ignore the general chat and the not safe for work meme garden. You'll be fine. They're both cancer.
The entire Discord is nothing but porn and memes.
I was gonna say
nothing
I'll
else
give
around.
you lesser god status mostly because it'll piss off Siggy. Because I know she wants it.
She's
And
not
she
even
go to
here
sleep?
listening.
Oh,
Well,
okay.
she's getting ready for work.
Oh,
and
that's
messaging in
half the
the
fun.
Hangouts.
I'm
no, well,
here.
I have.
I'm here.
Okay.
Well, she just
If he
got back.
joins my Discord, he gets automatic lesser god status.
No, fuck you. Seriously.
See,
No,
there you
you're
go.
making
There
me
you
lesser
go.
god. No, I demand it.
have no idea what you guys are talking about, but I'm sure I'll see.
I have a
you.
hierarchy in my server, and lesser god is a second. From
I
the
do
top.
not deserve to be on the same level as these newcomer people.
No. You take that out with Loki. Loki put those people in there.
Yeah, he's right. I was just the only demigod. You're bringing other people up to my status. What the hell?
That's not
Okay.
true.
Anyways, I'm gonna say goodnight because I have to go to work tomorrow and stuff. So thanks everybody for being part of our mental health stream.
It was nice meeting you.
Yeah,
Yes,
we should
and
have stopped and started a new stream, but it's okay.
We can still
Yeah,
stop and start a new stream.
I mean, it's okay. It doesn't matter. We covered the things you wanted to talk about. Yes,
We
and so
did,
we will see you on
mostly.
Dumpster Fire. Dumpster Fire is our more. Well, you guys kind of turned this into a dumpster fire a little bit. I don't know why we're talking about Leonardo
Sorry.
DiCaprio and Brad
Hey,
Pitt, how
hey,
that
hey.
happened.
Leonardo DiCaprio was always relevant.
I mean, they do tie in with mental health addiction and
Yeah,
all
he's
sorts
got
of
some
things.
mental health problems.
Leo addiction.
This
culture.
motherfucker's got a private jet. He flies all over the world to talk about fucking.
I mean,
the
didn't Lady Gaga
carbon
come out like
footprint problem?
a few weeks ago saying that she had PTSD or something?
Something
Was
Yeah.
it from
So,
Twitter?
yeah.
I hear lots of people are getting that from Twitter these days.
Yeah.
Yeah,
PTSD
serious.
from Twitter.
Like, fuck
Oh, I
you.
know.
You people
Oh my
don't
God.
understand how much of a insult that is to people who actually have been through the PTSD, which
No,
is one
no,
of
I
actually
know
the
exactly how
most
much of an insult
horrible
it is.
mental
I've
illnesses.
only been through 2 wars, but I
Yeah,
haven't
no,
been through the Twitter.
exactly.
I haven't been through the Twitter war. I've only had real people shooting.
You
at
never
me.
had people tell you that your work is terrible and that you suck and that it's just so bad?
Surprisingly, I have not.
joke, but
Apparently,
good
I haven't made
work.
it in YouTube yet because no one has told me that.
There was another
One guy
commercial about
said
women and
I
sexual
steep.
harassment in the workplace and like how that's just a given. Like just if you're a woman, like this is just something you're gonna experience. What the fuck is that? Like I have had male bosses who have done nothing but respect me and support me and have my back and train me and like you're minimizing these people and my hard work to saying that like sexual harassment is a given. Fuck you. Oh, see, that just turned into a
Well,
dumpster
see,
fire.
actually, no, hold on. On the mental health thing, I was in the Marine Corps. Women actually have a lower physical standard. Like they do this flex arm hang. They have less crunches and a lower run time. The problem is you have women who are fully capable as any man, but they have a
Yeah.
lower standard that they have to meet. So when you meet a woman, you default think that she can only do the
Yeah.
lower standard because her standard is lower. Now here's the problem is there are plenty of women who can meet the standard, but now they have to reprove themselves because they've created a lower standard for women. So now you get this woman and you're like, oh, well, she can't do the fucking job. She has that lower standard. And she has to prove that she's capable. And it's completely fucked up because all you have is you get a score, right? So you don't know like because there's a max score, and once you hit the max, it doesn't make a difference. And the max score for women is about 2/3 of what it is for men in the Marine Corps. So you're like, okay, you got 100% on everything. That still puts me at thinking you're 2/3 of what
Yep.
a man has to
Yeah.
do for the same fucking score. So they have to reprove themselves. I'm like, if they had the same physical fitness standard, then you would know, okay, she's capable, and you wouldn't think anything further of it. There would be no sexist division, and they actually
Yeah.
create it by creating a separate standard for women so that more women can get in. It's like, hey,
what does that
more
say
women
to-
don't need to get in. Women who are capable need to get in. Men who are capable need to get in. It doesn't matter what gender you are if you're capable of doing the fucking job we ask of you. Is all that's
and
important.
women who are interested. Like, what does that say to like female chemical like scientists now, or female engineers, or female architects now who have gone through this process and been successful, and then the people after them are gonna not have to work as hard as they did. I'd
Well,
be pissed.
exactly.
Like,
Yeah,
I'm pissed
exactly.
if
That's what
Yeah.
that's my whole
yeah.
point. Is you have women who meet the standard that is the standard, but then you have the woman standard. So you default think women meet that standard, and they're like, no, I'm striving for your standard because that's the standard of the branch of
Yeah,
service.
that's gonna make
right?
me
That's the
automatically biased
branch-
to any female student I have if I
Exactly.
actually become a professor, because I'm
And
gonna be
that's-
like,
that's
you didn't
the
have
problem,
to do
and
what I had to do. Yeah.
I think that is sexism,
Yeah.
right? It's inherently sexism to give a lower
Very
standard
ironically.
to women. That's it.
Yeah.
That's all it is. It's like, hey, because
Yeah,
there
but you
are
gotta
men
fill
who
those
can't meet
quotas,
the
you know what I
standard.
mean?
Right, yeah. Well, this is what I mean is
Like
men
you're-
can't meet the
You
standard.
went so
And then they
off
don't
topic.
meet the standard, you give them the fucking
Nice.
boot. Like men get kicked out for not meeting the men's standard. But
Yeah,
women
yeah.
get to stay in because they have a lower standard. And I'm like, that's fucking sexism.
Yeah.
It
I
is.
only want people who are capable. I don't care what your genitalia is if you're capable of doing the fucking job.
I
think
really
all
about
I
it with
hear-
firefighters, and I think it's a fucking terrible idea to lower
Exactly.
the standard because, like, I'm
Um,
sorry, but if
we-
you can't get the hose off the damn truck, you're useless.
Exactly. There's a woman in
Oh, trust me,
New
I
York
can get the
City.
hose
She
off the
failed
truck.
3 fucking times. And then they still let her become a firefighter because she's a woman.
But first,
Yeah,
she sued to also lower the
Yeah, she
lower the
sued.
age limit.
Exactly.
Let's never forget that she sued twice
I mean-
to lower the age limit, then applied again, and then sued again to lower the fucking minimum requirement.
Yeah, which is bullshit.
would-
Inacio, calm the fuck down, brah.
You know, now that I think about it, I would totally think that right now, like my female bosses or women who are the older generation who are
capable?
careers, are probably so frustrated with us because they probably think that about us. That like,
Well,
look how
here's the
easy
thing-
you guys have had it. Look at what
The-
we had to go through when we were successful in our careers as like
No,
writers.
here's the
and stuff.
problem. Here's the problem is when they created that standard, what they realized is they had a standard and women weren't meeting the standard, not enough. So they lowered the standard. The standard, like in the Marine Corps, the standard was lowered in 96. So almost every woman that's in now has been at that standard. But they want to lower it even more, like because the infantry has an even higher standard than the General Marine Corps. So they want to lower that standard. So it's like, okay, we already think lesser of women in general. Now you want to lower the standard for everything. So we're going to think less of everybody. So a lot of the women who are in there have already had to deal with a lower standard. Then you have some who were like, no, I'll meet the standard that everybody else has to meet in this job. And then they have to deal with these women who meet the minimum standard that they created for women because women are less. Right? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
it isn't
Yeah.
those women that you'll meet that are your professors and things like that are disdained at the other women in their own level because those women only met the minimum standard for
Yeah,
women
pretty much.
while they were
Yeah.
striving for the standard of the career field. Because the standard that you create, like I can speak about the Marine Corps infantry because
Yeah,
that
the
was
whole
my
quota
job.
thing is bullshit.
Right. So the standard they created is like we want to meet that standard because that was the standard that was created for a reason, regardless of gender. Right?
Yeah, but
So like that's the standard we strive for.
That's man think. You can't think like a man. That's bad. That's part of the patriarchy.
I am. My
Well,
name on fucking
I mean,
Discord
just-
is the
just
patriarchy. So.
just talking about mental health, how harmful the concept of the patriarchy is to both genders
Oh
It
my
is.
god.
many levels.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like the feminist agenda is detrimental to men, and by
Well, and
you
the
know,
women because it
collateral
reinforces
damage,
them
it
being,
hurts
like,
women
weak,
because
and they're not.
No, I think
everything that
I
hurts
think
men
it
hurts women.
I think
Yeah,
well,
no,
you know
that's
what,
what, no,
men-
no. I'm saying
guess what?
primarily
Get
it
wrong.
hurts men.
Right,
Well,
but
primarily
it's
it
not
hurts men,
making
'cause
It
things
that's the
also
aim.
better.
raises
No.
women to believe that they are
No, what I'm
victims
saying is-
by virtue of their
Yeah,
birth.
exactly. But men are in the crosshairs. Women are hurt as collateral damage. Like those women aren't
Yeah.
the aim, but they are hurt by it. But men are the aim to be hurt by
Oh,
it. Like they
eh.
intentionally hurt men, and women end up getting hurt as a collateral damage.
Okay.
Well, basically every
Feminism
action has
doesn't
an
wanna
equal and
hurt
opposite
women.
reaction.
Yeah, feminism doesn't want to hurt women,
No,
but women
feminism-
end
I
up
think it
hurt by the
does,
things that
though. I
feminists.
really think
Feminism
it does.
doesn't want to hurt other feminists. It's
It
trying
doesn't
to
give a
convince and
shit.
Well,
coerce
yeah, but they
other
also
women
believe
into
that all
joining.
women are feminists by default, and if you're not a feminist, you have
have
internalized
internalized
It
misogyny.
depends which side of the divide they're on,
Exactly.
because there's two schools of thought. You have the ones that it's all of us must succeed together, and then you have the other side, which is everybody for themselves.
But it's
Exactly.
honestly it's hurting women because it's creating paranoia. It's telling you
You
were
think?
always a victim. It's creating paranoia
Yeah.
inside of you. And I swear to God, that's real.
Oh, it
And that's
is.
something women get. If you are constantly
in
being told that
teenagers.
you are going to get raped, that becomes a real fear.
Oh, what is that at now? 1 to 3 still, or we're up to 1 to 5? They keep fucking
No,
changing
we're
it.
saying that it's going to go
And the
to
thing is-
two-thirds.
And the thing is, that's not something that's so hard
Yes,
to
it'll be
in a
2/3.
way, it still is something that's common, and a lot of us know someone who's been through that. So that becomes a very real fear, and it makes it difficult for you to have relationships with the men in your life, your friends in your life, your relationships. You always it infests your relationships in your life. And it infests your female relationships as well, because you're either a competition or you're not. Like you have this unsupposed to have this loyalty to each other, but you don't. Like it's very confusing. It's not a healthy place to be, I don't think.
No, I would agree with you completely.
It is
I mean, it
detrimental to
really,
women's
yeah,
mental health.
and it makes you. I really do think, like, it makes you want to be a victim. It makes you want to have attention, negative attention. Like yeah, that's not like, and that's something that's gonna grow. The doing obscene things, like you see what these feminists do, screaming in the streets, bleeding in front of
Slut
everybody.
walks. Slut
Like
walks.
No. First of
Yeah,
all,
there's some pretty
public
messed up
free
things to do it.
bleeding is worse than anything feminists have done to this point. And I mean, like, they could have stabbed the guy and
That,
cut off
no,
his
it-
Like
that depends how they do
reenacting
it, right?
rape in
Like,
front on a university campus, like just
No, free bleeding is still worse.
like I mean,
it's
I mean,
bad.
it's
It's bad. I'll
it's
agree.
detrimental for me to go into a university and sit in a class, and the
Uh-huh.
first thing they ask us, and they say, "So do you think men or women are equal?" And most of us, because we grew up in fucking the 2000s and have been hanging out as guys and girls, as groups of guys and girls, like we were always mixed. It was very rare that we were segregated from my experience growing up,
Free
and
shooting.
then being told, "Okay." No,
What about free
and
coming?
everybody's saying, no, yeah, we're equal. We think we have equality. Let me teach you why you're wrong. And that's the class. Let me teach you why you are still less. Let me teach you why you're still at a disadvantage, why you still need protection, why, but at the same time, you don't need, like, it's just a fucking oxymoron. It makes
Well, at
no
the same
sense.
time, we're going to tell you all the ways that you're empowered.
And then at the same time, you're still a female, and you still want male attention, and you still want to be like, it's very
Yeah, but
it's-
unfortunately, they're breeding the masculinity out of men these days, and it's like, well, no wonder they're not men anymore.
Oh wait, going back to mental health. We can go back to mental health with that one.
Well, I think we
Telling men
thoroughly
that being
did back on
masculine
it.
is a fucking it's toxic, right? Being a man is toxic.
You know what?
Right,
Without toxic
masculine
masculinity,
traits are
I would
toxic.
not have survived being in the mental health ward. That
Right,
the
exactly.
pure
How does
rage
your
is what
how
got
does
me
your
through
mental
that.
the
health get
feminists
affected
turn
by
Princess
toxic
Leia into a
masculinity?
fucking
Makes
victim
me
and
a
a
better
rape
man.
victim. Like what?
Right? Okay, Princess Leia in the fucking
Because
slave
Han Solo
Leia, which
forcefully
dudes are
kissed
like,
her.
oh look at her. She went,
She loved
became a
it.
slave to Jabba the Hutt in order to free the love of her life. There's nothing about that that's not empowering to women, right? She went and used her feminine wiles, as they say, to get herself in the court of Jabba the Hutt in order to free the love of her life. There's nothing wrong with that. That's the majority of movies. The man comes and saves the woman, damsel in distress.
Yeah,
Yep.
like why
There's
do they
nothing wrong
always
with
forget?
that. That's
I've always-
okay. That's an
I
okay
know.
narrative.
I've always noticed that, like in every single, even in the action movies that are made for men, like the target
Well, no, this is
audience
what I was
is
going to
men,
say.
they're
The woman
always
wasn't the
saving
damsel.
someone.
Han Solo was the damsel. It's
I
a
know,
role
I
reversal,
know.
and it's totally cool, and they still vilify it. Like, it's a role reversal. You're talking about
Well, yeah,
how
but they
bad
vilify
Disney is
everything
with
for their
the
narrative.
princess needs to be saved by the prince, and when it's the princess saving the prince, you're still fucking pissed off.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, because they need something to complain about.
Oh, she wore a fucking slutty dress because she was a sex slave to Jabba the Hutt. Yeah, in order to save the prince. The prince was still saved in the end. Calm the fuck down.
Yeah, she literally went undercover as a slave. She endured
Yeah, it
all
was
the
part of the
indignities
plan.
as slavery.
But it was degrading.
To what?
Exactly,
To fucking
yeah.
help rescue everyone, to be part of the team, to be an equal member of her small
Exactly.
society, her small
you watch
terrorist
Star
rebel
Wars- I love
society
Star
that
Wars.
decided to fly a bunch of fucking planes into the Death Star twice. Anyone know what I'm talking about? Never
Yeah.
forget. Never
Yeah.
forget.
No. See, I'm
Never
wearing
forget.
Star Wars. I'm wearing Star Wars right now. Now, here's the thing: is she was an equitable part of the team. There was total equality. They didn't be like, oh, she's a woman. Let's put her over to the side, right? She played her role in the team. Nobody ever treated her differently. Except you could say Han Solo did, but they had that whole love interest thing
Okay,
going
hold on,
on.
hold on, hold on.
But
Thing is,
you don't treat
bringing-
your spouse the way you treat everybody else anyway, and you shouldn't.
Ignacio is bringing up 50 Shades of Grey. And exactly, you want to fucking tell me there's a rape culture when 50 Shades of Grey is literally the number
Hey,
one
wait.
best-selling book in the past decade. Who bought that book?
Hey, what's
Back up
what's
from
the
your microphone, you're
difference?
too loud.
What's the difference
Yeah.
between domestic abuse and sadomasochism?
Consent.
No, money. 50 Shades of Grey taught me that. If you got money, you can beat the shit out of your woman. It's totally cool. And it's
Yeah, but you know,
sadomasochism.
wasn't
You
there
don't
like?
care
But
what
if
And
you're
learn-
fucking
learn
poor
to-
and you do it,
Yeah,
you're
whole
an abusive
consent
hillbilly.
aspect
You don't
of
give
it,
a
like,
shit
the
if a
big
guy's
selling
hitting
point?
on you unless he's ugly. If he's ugly, then it's
Exactly.
sexual assault. If
that
Justin
was
Oh
my
yeah, well, no
Timberlake
shit.
walked up to you and started talking to you, you would not have a problem with it.
Yeah, like I walk up to him like,
Well, I
yeah,
might.
fuck you, and then I walk
Yeah.
away, right? And it's totally cool. But if an ugly dude did it, it'd be a different
It's
story.
sexual
Although, but
harassment.
there are like lines
Exactly.
with it. Like if your boss is hitting on you, no
Wait,
matter
did
how
you
good
just-
looking
did you
he
just-
is.
Did you just
that's not
sneakily
right.
imply that you're hot?
Yes, I did. You got that, huh?
Okay,
Yeah.
you know what? You know what? You know what? You're gonna have to. You're gonna have to show the chat your penis now.
My
Did you-
penis.
I could,
My
but I don't
pe-
think
hey,
you're ready to
I
handle
am
it.
more than my sexual organs, Loki. Stop objectifying.
Did you hit
sexist
100
pig.
yet? Did you hit 100?
I don't know. I haven't checked in a while.
Chat, have you been
Okay.
subscribing to Trigger as well as Silerious?
No, of
Okay,
course they
you
haven't.
guys-
You're noobs. All right, nice. Like
Anyways,
it.
we will. I am going to say good night. See you all on Friday
right.
for
Good
Dumpster
night.
Fire, and then on Sunday for Book Club. Remember, that's
Next
happening
Sunday. You're
next
right.
Sunday, January 15th. Time to be confirmed.
I just want to tell you, Siggy, that all the people who came for fucking book club were like, "What the fuck, book club?" And they all left. Like we were at like 12 or 13 views, and they all left when they realized this wasn't going to be book club. I want you to
Okay,
know that.
we're to next week, and we urge everyone to join and read the book along with us. It's we're reading Fahrenheit 451. So yeah,
Well,
and then
we knew
come
you would.
participate in the conversation. Good night, everyone.
Night.
Have a good night,
Yeah,
Siggy.
so you could read Fahrenheit 451 in the next week. It's a short enough book. If you read it like an 8th grade level, it takes about 4 hours. So you know it's not that complicated of a book. If you want to,
scare me.
hold on, I can go find it in an audiobook for free on YouTube. Oh wait, I just found
Listen,
it.
when
I
I'm
will
off and
share
trying to
the
see
link.
Things.
Are you gonna share the link in the chat?
Yes, I'll put it in fucking
Okay, and
the
if you
hangout,
don't
so
have
you can
time-
fucking put it on there.
And if you don't have time to read Fahrenheit 9,
Hold on, let me see.
945, what the fuck is it called?
451. It is 6 hours and 30 minutes with the prologue and the after fucking whatever, the about the author that comes after.
You can try and catch up on the next book that we're reading on Book Club, which is going to be.
The Turner Diaries. The Turner Diaries is a great book. Have you read that? Either of you?
Nope.
No? Eagle, you still there?
Oh yeah, sorry, just distracted by a message. No, I haven't had time to read for a while. I've been too much life.
You should really make time for reading. Reading is it is the whetstone of the mind. As they
Well,
say.
I am an avid thinker. However, I'm more of a visual artist as well as a musician. So it's
Do the audiobook then. Do the audiobook.
you're not really gonna talk me into this one. I'm sorry. I got so many
Oh.
things going on that I do.
Oh. Okay, so the Turner Diaries, to sum it up, is the rise of the ethno-state. A gun ban happens, so the ethno-state, with the white supremacists, they rise up and they overthrow the government, and they actually eliminate all non-white people from the entire globe. That's what that book's about,
Oh, current events. Gotcha.
right? So yeah, I keep telling Loki, I'm like, the rise of the ethno-state. That's 2017. And then you're going to get the counterculture. Well, it's not the counterculture, but you're going to get the rise of the ethno-state. The SJWs will have validity because they'll finally have actual real racists to point at. And then we're going to see something really bad happen in the future. Either way, because it doesn't matter. If the ethno-state wins, that's bad.
Look,
If
I've
the
lived through
SJWs
several
win,
wars
it's still bad.
and several collapse of several countries. I don't know if I can handle another war, but I do have guns.
I can handle another war.
I might survive.
I've only got 2. I can
disabled.
do
I
at
got
least 3.
Pressure
I
points.
can do at least 3 wars before I lose my mind completely.
My dad has a nice collection of old Russian Soviet rifles.
Oh,
And I
yeah,
know
you're
the combination to his
fucked.
gun
You're
safe.
fucked. The Soviet style of fighting war is send 2 guys in, one has a gun, the other has bullets.
Right, but if I have 2 guns and all the bullets, what does that mean?
Oh shit, that was
You'll be better off than most Russians.
I'll be better
Oh
off than
my-
most
that shit
Canadians.
blew my mind. Like when I was reading that, like that's how the Soviet Union was sending their troops. I'm like, that's fucking insane. Like that's fucking
Well,
like next level crazy.
When when fucking Igor dies, you just pick up his gun and you already have bullets, so it's all fine.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, that's fucking insane because you're running into battle with literally no weapon. You have bullets for a weapon that you don't possess, and you're running at the enemy who's shooting at you.
Well, look,
That's
look,
fucking
look.
crazy.
The smart Russians clearly picked up the guns from the dead bodies in front of them.
Well,
Yeah.
obviously, but that's what I'm saying is they're like, here's 10 bullets. The guy dies. Pick up the gun. Okay, thanks.
It's Ivan gets a rifle and 5 bullets. You get 5 bullets. Follow Ivan,
When Ivan dies, you pick up his gun.
or we shoot you. Yeah.
Yeah, and if you retreat, you die. This is why
Yep.
Russia. I hate this argument so fucking much, right? I've had this repeatedly that the Soviet Union could have won World War II without the United States. Like, all of the death of the Soviet Union, half is contributed to the Soviet Union itself. Half the people they sent without guns, and if you retreated, they fucking murdered you for it. Half
Well,
the
I
deaths of World War II were at the hands of the Soviet Union.
You could almost be safe to say that without the involvement of all the allies, it would not have happened.
Right, exactly. Right.
Without even just Canada being there, it would not have gone the way it did.
Well, come on, it's Canada. Let's not give them too much credit. Oh, you're Canadian. Sorry.
You should hear what they teach us in Canada about the Canadian troops.
I know you guys love this.
And anytime there's
How many
a-
beaches did Canada have? How many
Us?
beaches in
Apparently
fucking
all of
D-Day?
them.
What was that? One beach?
All of them.
What?
It's, we were responsible
One
for
fucking
coord-
beach?
No. As they
What the hell
teach
is
us here
that?
is we were responsible for coordinating all
Gold
of
Beach,
the
I believe,
efforts.
was or no, yeah, Gold Beach. Gold Beach was a Canadian beach. The U.S. had 3 beaches, and fucking the U.K. and Canada had 2.
Okay, but
One
let's
for
be fair,
each.
The U.S. stayed out of the fucking
Good.
war until the last 2 years.
They got 10
Because we're
times
not
their
fucking
population.
idiots. Because we're not fucking idiots. Let you
because
kill
guys
off a bunch of the
supported
enemy
Hitler
first.
Until then.
Oh, well, see, there you go. You guys showed up the
Don't-
last minute, and it's just
don't
like,
you
oh, hey,
put
guys,
FDR on
you
me.
won.
Fuck FDR and progressive. All right, fuck them all.
Look.
You know I'm
sure-
a conservative.
I'm sure
You're
if-
throwing a Democrat at me. Fuck
I'm
that.
sure
Fuck
if
that
you were
crippled son
there-
of a
look,
bitch.
I'm sure if you were there, you would have been fucking gung ho to go in and fight Hitler from day one.
Exactly.
But your financial institutions were there supporting Hitler from day one.
Our fucking government was supporting Hitler from day
I know,
one.
I
Don't fucking
know.
lie. Okay, so Eagle, you said you had a disability. So I want to ask you this. Do you know what eugenics is?
Yeah.
Okay. Would you, with a medical condition, be pro-eugenics?
No, the correct answer is no.
Yes, the correct answer is no. Because FDR, a motherfucking he was stricken with polio and fucking rendered in a fucking wheelchair, was pro-eugenics. And it blows my like, I really can't wrap my head around it. Like, that's the hardest thing to comprehend, is a dude in a wheelchair being like, yeah, we should kill people with disabilities. Like, dude, that's you. You're literally saying you should be thrown in a concentration camp and fucking murdered.
But to be fair, he was also white to begin with.
Right, yeah.
Well, he was also in a
Right.
position of power, so he was
Right,
protected.
yeah. Yeah, but I'm saying is, like, you would think you'd have at least a little bit of empathy for other people with disabilities. A little bit, something.
Well, just like that last fucking the last event in Detroit proved, apparently you don't necessarily have empathy for other people with disabilities, even if you take care of people with disabilities.
It fucking blows my mind.
What happened in Detroit? You talking about Chicago?
Everything
Sorry, was
bad.
it Chicago?
Detroit.
Chicago. You threw me off
Yeah,
there.
Chicago.
We were talking about the kidnapping. Yeah, it was
Yeah.
Chicago.
Sorry, Chicago.
Yeah, we had a long discussion about that. Like, the guy has mental disabilities, and he was hanging out with those people. He wanted friends.
Well, yeah,
It
they invited for a
escalated.
sleepover. Like, what the fuck?
Well, that's the thing. Like, it escalated from witness accounts, they were shadow boxing, and then the black dude got pissed off and basically abducted the guy. So like they were friends, and it's kind of like I see where it is. It's like, yeah, you hang out with a mentally disabled guy and then you treat him like shit. I've seen it before, and it's fucked. Obviously, that went way too far.
You think?
I've
Well,
seen it.
no,
I grew up in
but
a
you know what I'm
black
saying. Like,
neighborhood.
I don't think
Yeah,
it was a
yeah.
hate crime, to be honest with you. Like, right now,
How
that's
do
not
you
the
not?
popular opinion because
Oh,
they were friends. Like, the dude got pissed off. I was like, oh, we're gonna treat him like shit, and they don't give a fuck. I don't think it was
don't know. I
about
have
him
to
being white. I think it was about him being mentally disabled. So I
see.
guess
That's
that would be a
completely
hate
new
crime in
information to
that
me.
way.
I'm not sure where you like. I can't say that I followed it too closely, but I know a lot of people who have been following it extremely closely, and that is the first time I've heard anybody mention that they had any real prior association outside
Yeah, they
of
did.
going
They
to the
did.
same school together.
The mentally disabled guy actually, his parents dropped him off to hang out with them.
because their parents
Like
knew them.
they all knew they were friends. That
Because
whole group,
that's
the
what I mean. I
black
heard he
guys,
was invited for a sleepover, and he just didn't know any better.
they were
No,
his friends though.
Yeah, they were his friends from
they
school. They
invited him to hang
spent
out.
the entire
They
time
were
in
his
high school
friends.
together.
Yeah, they were friends. They knew each other. They had a prior knowledge of each other. So they were hanging out as friends, and from the witness accounts, they were shadow boxing, and then the situation escalated to a real fight, and the end state was they kidnapped his ass. So I'm guessing they were shadow boxing. The mentally disabled white guy hit him a little too hard, and then they were like, "Fuck this," and they kidnapped his ass.
How the fuck did that escalate into fuck Trump and fuck white people?
I'm gonna
I'm
guess
not-
That was
no,
that
hold
was
on,
actually
hold on,
3
hold on.
days. 3 days later,
That was
I heard it
3
was
days.
two.
they had his ass.
24
No.
48.
They had him sleeping in the back of the van for 2 days. That was the end
Yeah.
of day 3, where they were in the apartment live streaming, and then they found him the next day wandering the streets without his pants. The police.
Okay.
So there's like a lot
Yeah,
of.
it was 3 days. The third day was
Well, this is
all the
why I
shit you
don't
saw on
jump
the
on
live
this shit
stream
and make
and his
videos
escape.
right away.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's the big thing because I wanted to make a video about it, and I'm like, and then I
Yeah, I
started
wait- I
reading
wait
some
to-
articles.
yeah,
I'm like,
everything
okay,
comes
they
out
were
with it.
friends.
I didn't
I-
know
I
any of
really-
this, and so
Yeah,
far
I
from all the
really
videos that I've
don't-
seen, nobody else did.
Yeah, our dumpster fire, we covered that, but we're nobodies. Like we have fucking no viewership.
Yeah, I was gonna, well, not that I have much. I'm only like 744 or something. Last time I looked.
You're like 8 times higher than us. Well, 8 times higher than me, I'll say, or 10 times actually. Now because I keep losing fucking subscribers.
Yeah.
I had some internet drama, which was funny because
Wait,
it wasn't even my
How
drama.
did you lose at that point?
10 total.
Are you under
10
8?
total.
Are you under 90?
No, I gained some. Yeah, okay, so some dude was, in my opinion, he was very domineering and a bit of a control freak, and he was pursuing a minor. I called him a pedophile, and apparently that was a horrible thing to do because it just like blew up. Him and all his
Oh.
friends started making like hate videos about me.
Yeah, that's not a good accusation to toss out ever, even as a joke.
No, it wasn't a joke. He really is. Like
Oh.
I'm not. I'll back it up 100%. Right?
Oh, that's different. No, that's different. If he
Yeah.
actually is, and you know for a fact he is,
He really was, and I was pointing this shit out, and the minor that he was pursuing refused to listen to reason, and I washed my hands of it. Then they started dragging me into some other drama that I was uninvolved in. I'm like, I think he's a pedophile, and they're like, "Oh, you can't say that without proof." I'm like, I have proof. I have fucking saved screenshots of conversations that were clearly, pointed out all the information, but nobody cared, and a bunch of people unsubscribed to me. I was like, okay, farewell to you if that's what you want to do. I didn't put too much effort into it.
yeah, it's kind of iffy these days, especially with all the SJWs who are actually pushing for the sexualization of children and the
Exactly.
acceptance
That's
of
what I think, like-
pedophilia and
What should be
Anision
like-
being the creep that he is. Like, there's a lot of people out there who are all for that shit.
That was the thing. All the people that were anti-Anision, some of them were the same people who were attacking me, and I'm like, this is the same general scenario, and you're attacking me for the same fucking thing that you're now
Well,
saying is okay.
There's
Or
also a bunch
you're
of other
attacking
allegations
Anision
him.
for it, but you're saying it's okay for the person that I was saying was doing basically the same thing. Like they were, what I don't know how to say that.
Well, I was going to say basically
He
what
was
like, he was
manipulating a child and trying to get them to do things that I felt were inappropriate. And I said my
To-
piece, and then I dropped it. Right?
to-
I said, okay,
it
I'm
was
done with
to
this.
send nude photos, to get on webcam, and to move over to the States so he can be with her.
oh
Yeah. And I was
How
like,
old?
this shit's
Those
wrong. You should
those are
avoid him.
documented since we know both people in question.
Yeah,
And
well,
one
like,
of
we
them
have
really
actual-
may I, what's
actual
the age
proof
of the
of it.
person in question? Like the victim, I should say.
Was it 36 and 15? I think.
Yeah.
Oh,
36
fuck,
and
no,
16,
no.
maybe.
See, I have a
It's at
15-year-old
least 20
son.
years, 20-year difference.
I have
Now,
a
here's the thing
15-year-old
is-
son, so that shit is fucking disgusting to me.
My issue is the controlling nature of him. Like, I feel like the 15, 16 age is kind of a gray area. Right, and I know a lot of people disagree with me, and I'm like, your child, your choice, you're the parent, they're still a minor. By law, it's 100% up to you. You know, like, I'm not even trying to step on anybody else's toes, right? But there are parents who don't care, and
I care.
you know, no, yeah, exactly, and that's good. You should care. I think that you should care, and there are parents who
As
don't
someone
care.
who lost his virginity at 17 to a 24-year-old who picked him up drunk at a bar, I care.
Right. Well, that's what I'm saying. And you should care. And I think that people should care. But if you don't care, and I tell you as the parent and you don't care, it's none of my business. But I'm also not the huge asshole who's going to go try to find their personal information so I can inform their parents.
Yeah.
But I told
yeah.
them my piece. They didn't care what I had to say. So I just removed myself from the situation.
Yeah, there
And
is
then
no
like a
talking
week
sense into some
later,
people.
yeah. A week later, people are making videos and interviewing and talking about how horrible of a person I am for simply saying you should avoid that person. They're a controlling, manipulated person. Stay away from them. That was my whole input.
Especially since I was a witness to her coming to help to Trigger. She literally
Yeah,
came to
she
him
asked
like,
me for help, and I offered my help, and then she denied me. And then I washed my hands of it and said, I don't want anything to do with any of you. And then somehow I ended up the bad guy. I don't know how that
I don't know.
happened.
People like, you know what? They just like to have somebody to blame and to put their frustration out onto, and you're just an easy target, I guess.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. It's because I'm a huge asshole in my personal life. Everybody knows this. And people who know me in real life who have watched my YouTube videos are like, why are you so nice? And then I feel like it's the internet. I'm not face to face with people, and it seems a little bit inappropriate to be a complete asshole like I normally am.
Wow, you're
Because
backwards to me.
well, here's the thing: is like if me and you met in person, and I said some really asshole things to you, and you punched me in the face, I probably deserve it. But that I just, I know that going into it. But you are not afforded the opportunity to punch me in the face over the internet. So
I respect
I
it.
shouldn't be that huge of an
I'm the
asshole.
opposite. Like,
Yeah.
if
Well,
I had
yeah,
no
most
respect
people
for
are.
you,
I
you're a
understand.
fucking asshole.
Yeah, I understand. Not getting punched in the face makes people more open to be themselves.
Yeah.
I'm kind of the opposite because I feel like anybody that I attack should have the right to defend themselves. So I shouldn't escalate it to the point I would in person. You know what I mean? Like if somebody wants to fight me over things that I said in person, is completely different than saying very mean things to them over the internet. Right. Yeah. Grooming a 16-year-old to be a sex slave is how I felt the situation was. But I removed myself from it because nobody seemed to care. And it's none of my business. Not my kid, not my business.
you did your
But
best.
here's the thing is, I am a huge asshole in person. I own a commercial building, and both the businesses on either side, they fucking hate me. But I would not be that big of an asshole online. So, like, everything that people say that they're like, oh, wow, you crossed the line. Like, you have no idea. If I was in person, I'd go way further. All right? Because you have the chance to defend yourself physically or verbally, depending how you wanted to take that situation.
One way to look at it is that nobody should ever actually physically punch you in your face, and it always should be with words. So regardless of whether you're on or offline, it doesn't matter what you think. Doesn't matter what I think.
No, exactly. Yeah. No. What I'm saying is that's
if I punch you, I'm going to be in
opposite,
jail.
yeah.
So it's not worth it.
Well, that's why I'm the opposite of most people online, is because I don't actually agree with that. I don't. If you punch me in the face because I said something to you that you found completely offensive, I feel that you are probably in the right. Does that make sense? Like,
I
You
get it.
said
You personally
you
may, but
have some
Are you basically saying that you
disabilities.
deserve and need to be punched in the face?
No. Well, I am kind of that much of an asshole, but yes. But what I'm saying is, if somebody tells me something and I use it against them online, what are the ramifications? Like
Well, see,
nothing.
the way I
So
look
I
at it,
shouldn't be an asshole because I know you can't really do anything to me. So being as brazen and as much of a bigot or asshole as I want to
yeah, but
be
try to apply that
is
logic to
kind
like
of wrong.
social justice warriors lot mentality. Like you mispronounce their fucking gender, and you're gonna get punched in the face.
Right, but I also know I can take
I'm
any social
Sigyn, you
justice warrior.
fuck. You know?
You're right, but as I'm saying is, I know I can take them.
Oh yeah, they're all pussies, but it's
right,
not my
exactly.
point. It's just like
No,
that kind of
no.
mentality of it.
Well, that's my point. Is if they feel that it needs to go to a physical level, I feel that we should be face to face, so they can take it to that level if they really feel, the courage to do so. Um, but like I like Bearing. But some of the things that he says are like, oh, that's got to cut to the bone to the person he's saying it about, and I don't feel comfortable doing that because all they can do is come back with words, and sometimes like you cut someone to the bone, there's a higher like a lot of people on the internet say things they would not say in person, and I feel the opposite. I feel like
everything I say online, I would say to your face.
Right, exactly.
Problem.
That's what I'm saying. Like I would say it to your face, but also at the same time, I don't want to escalate a situation online because I know you can't escalate the situation any further than words. So I can say all the outrageous, mean things I want to say without any fear of repercussions. And I don't know, somewhere in my mind, it just seems like that's unfair to
these days.
person
These
I'm
days,
talking
there's
about.
repercussions. I mean, you piss off the wrong person, and they get a hard on for you, and they get all their friends to start coming after you, try to get your personal information, try to find out where you work, present all that
Here's
to
the
your
thing
work.
is,
You know what I mean?
I've actually put my personal address online because somebody was like, "Oh, fuck you, where do you live?" And I was like, "Oh, here's my address. Come the fuck on over." I
you
know
know what
I'm a
right?
unique fucking person, and they can share it with whoever they want. I live in a fairly safe place.
Well, it's not that. It's like they will go contact employers or anybody they can just
Yes,
try to
that's
get
what I'm saying.
you
I
fired.
understand. I don't have those same problems, and I feel like I'm playing in
me either.
An arena where I have an unfair advantage. Right? My fiance is the one who does all the work. Obviously, I'm not going to dox her.
Yeah.
So it's like you can come at me all you want. Worst case scenario, I'm financially dependent upon her 100%.
Yeah, that was
the
my
worst case
scenario until we're getting separated, so now I'm fucked. I got like a month and a half before being homeless, and I have no idea what the fuck I'm going to do, really.
When I met my fiance, and she'll sometimes admit it, it depends on her mood. She was very dependent on other people. I made her very independent, which is kind of backfired because I'm a controlling asshole. But I don't want to control anybody, right? Like, I like you, but I don't want you to just knuckle under everything that I say and do. If you do, I will fucking cut you out of my life. I don't like those kind of people. I'm an assertive asshole, and I need people who counterbalance me. You know what I mean? Like, if you don't keep me in check, I don't want you in my life.
Fair enough. You want someone to call you on your shit.
Right. So I forced her into being that kind of person, and now she is. And then now I'm like, what the fuck? Why are you doing this? Like, hey, come on. You know this is my personality. Honestly, in the back of my head, if she didn't do that, I wouldn't be with her. So, like, online, you can't do that. You can't call me on my shit. You can say whatever you want online. Like, honestly, no amount of words that you say in a YouTube video are ever going to affect me. Like, I've watched people blown into fucking pink mist, like, in front of my fucking face. No words on the internet are really going to fucking affect me. So I feel like it's unfair of me to come at them fully like I normally would, because what are they going to do? You know, what's the most they could really do? And they say my name, they show my picture, they give my address. I'll do that myself. You know, I guess I want.
Oh yeah, I'm not hidden. Like, my name, my face it's all out there.
Well, yeah. Well, I don't know. I haven't. Because I don't even look like.
Well, no, right on my YouTube channel even.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's like I don't even bother to look. Like, if you look at my first like 3 or 4 YouTube channels, they are me in front of a camera. The only reason I stopped is because I have a fisheye lens, and no matter how much editing I did, I couldn't make it look good. Gotcha. And I was like, it looks like shit, so I started using the avatar. That's
Even
it.
on my Twitter, like I have my GoFundMe is pinned to the top of my Twitter, and that's got my face and name all over it. So I'm
Yeah.
very much not hidden.
It's that I very, very much am anti. Well, I'm anti-doxing, but at the same time, I don't like the anonymity that people have, and I feel it undermines their side. Now, I do understand when you're talking anti-Islam, it's like there are literally people who will come and kill you.
Oh yeah,
But I will
shit.
talk anti-Islam, and I will put my face, and I will put my name, and I'll put my fucking physical address out there. Because if I die in a hail of gunfire, so be it. But I'm a
I
sadistic
just
asshole.
avoid religion altogether because it's a fucking headache, and I
It
don't
really
need
is.
more
It
headaches in my
really
life.
is. But
Actually,
here's the thing:
others
I
are
spent a
enough
lot of
for
my
the headache.
time, my adult life, I spent a lot of it in the Muslim world, and the majority of them are not those radical people that I have interacted with.
Oh, I
Like,
grew up around some,
anecdotally,
and they were fine because
and
they
they're
wanted to
like,
be
yeah,
here.
Islam is great, but when you like actually spend time with them, like they're like American conservatives. They're not really religious zealots, right? They're like freedom, individual rights, and they're like, leave me alone, I'll leave you alone, and
Yeah.
that's good, and I'm for that. And if somebody who isn't for that wants to get into a firefight with me, come what may, that's the end of it. Whether it's me or them, I don't care. And the local police here, if I did have to fucking get into a firefight with fucking radical extremists, because Mizzou was just rated the most regressive college in the United States, which
God.
is about 30 minutes away from me. So
Yeah, that
Yeah.
that place.
I
is
live
just-
I live in mid Missouri, right outside of Jefferson City. If you want more specifics, I'll gladly give them to you.
No, I don't
That's
give a shit.
chat, by the way. No, that's for the chat, by the way.
Okay,
I'm a little drunk right now.
I noticed.
I'm
That's
so
all right.
so I wanna like push people. I like pushing people.
I'm a little sober right now.
Oh, it's my whole thing. Like, well, I told Siggy, we were talking about the mental health thing, and she's like, "Oh, we want to talk about veterans," and that kind of gets me in my mood. I have like survivor's guilt. When I was in Afghanistan, half my squad was taken out on numerous occasions, right? Not fucking all at once. And my best friend was fucking killed by a sniper. So I was like, oh, I'm gonna start drinking. I started drinking early. I've been drinking for about 12 hours now.
It's American beer, of course you have
I'm
been.
a little wasted. No, I'm drinking Irish whiskey.
I was just kidding, man.
American beer is piss water.
Yeah, exactly.
It
That
really is.
was the
Yeah.
joke.
Yeah. No, I was drinking whiskey. And I was saying, fuck that. I do have a fucking rack of Bud Select, but honestly, it's just slightly better piss. That's all it is. Anyways, what I was saying is, I'd rather face to face have the conversation. Like, there's a school, Rolla School of Science and Technology. There's a lot of Indians there. It's like, I like Indians. I like the Indian culture and everything. Like, there's a lot of bad things about it. Obviously, they do have their problems. Feminism is taking over there.
Oh fuck.
Yeah, it really is. It's getting really bad. Did you know in India the rape law is forced penetration, not forced to penetrate, has been removed from the rape law. So a man can no longer be raped at all legally unless
so it's
he
just
is
like the West.
raped by another man. So unless you're raped by a man, you can't be raped.
Yeah, that's just like North America, right? We've been like that for a long time.
Yep.
Kind of, but we don't actually have the force to penetrate in legal terms. It's actually
A
legal
woman
terms
can't rape
now.
a man. Is the current setup right now, anyway, as far as I'm
Can
I
aware.
don't know
a
if I
woman
can.
take
In
a,
the
can take a
US
strap on and penetrate a man with it, and therefore
That's different. That's just the same as a man raping a man. Now, man can rape a
Right,
man, but a
yeah.
woman cannot rape a man by forcing him to penetrate her.
Right, yeah. Forced to penetrate is no longer rape in India, which I was surprised by because, well, it's India, to be honest with you. I mean, they've always been really sexist against women, right?
I guess I have never been.
I want to go. I've only been to Sri Lanka. I haven't been to India proper. Well, Sri Lanka
Sri
is not a
Lanka?
part of India. Yeah,
not yet it isn't.
it should be. Can't wait for that conquest. I mean, what?
What?
Anyways, I feel like I had a point, but I don't remember what it was.
Survivor's guilt. People died all around you. You drank a lot.
Right, yeah.
Mental health.
So the booze kind of numbs the feeling of it. It doesn't really go away. It never goes away. But my friends who, when we came back, they were taking pills, and they're taking a shit ton of pills. They were comatose for like 18, 20 hours a day.
Wow.
I'm like, I'm not going to do that. I fucking refuse to do that. Like, yeah, shit sucks, but I'd rather feel life than be that.
Yeah.
And
Right. Well, I personally, I wanted to face
mean-
my problems as opposed to taking pills, which was just like a Band-Aid solution. It's just kind of like if I chose to drink
exactly.
to cover it up, because then when you sober up or you get off the pills, your problems are still there because you haven't dealt with them.
Well, my thing is like, well, it's been years. That was in 2010, 2011 that I was in Afghanistan. But when I came back, all I would do is I would drink until I got so fucking drunk I could barely walk. I'd stumble my happy ass home, and then I'd throw up in the fucking bathtub. Then my fiance had to take care of me the next morning, and that's how I spent most of my time.
Oh, you managed to by the time you got home.
It was bad. Well, here's the thing: is I'm a very responsible drunk,
Oh,
which is lucky because most people are not responsible drunks.
no.
No, they're drunk.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm like the type of person who's like, I'm gonna walk down this fucking sidewalk and I'm gonna walk fucking straight. I'm gonna go where I go. Oh, I'm gonna stop at this light because I'm not the fucking green walking man, and I'm very conscious of what I do when I drunk. Like I become more situational awareness when I get drunk. But the thing is, like, I'm trying not to think about the fact of one little fuck up that I did had led to so many people fucking dying. Like my unit, we had 25 total die, and we had 136 lose limbs. And I'm like, okay, all of that's not on me, but a lot of it is, and it feels like a lot of it is. And one of the problems with survivor's guilt is most of it isn't your fault. And like I'm trying to like reconcile that with myself. Like, okay, had I made a different decision, that probably all would have still happened. But at the same time, it's like, well, I didn't make this decision, and this did still happen. And I make up a correlation in my mind. And booze, I'm not one of those, what do you call it, depressed drunks.
Yeah.
Like you see the people who they drink and they get sad. I'm more of a happy, upbeat type of drinker. So drinking is actually beneficial in that way. So I'm like, okay, all right, yeah, shit happens. Maybe
It's good for anxiety.
maybe I'll cry a little bit later, but shit happens. There's nothing wrong with a man crying.
No,
There really
no,
isn't.
It
Um,
happens to me quite frequently.
well, that's the
Not
thing is
ashamed.
like they actually were talking about it. I can't remember who it was. I can't remember his name, but they're like men crying, but then you get up and you do what you need to do. And I'm like, I agree with that. Like they say it like it's a bad thing. I'm like, but I agree with that.
Yeah, let it
Like
out. Let it
you
out.
have a bad fucking moment, and other people understand you have a bad moment, but you get up and you do what you need to do. And I think everybody needs a little bit more of that. You need to do what you need to do.
Yeah, absolutely. It shouldn't be debilitating. You should just let it out and get the fuck on with your life.
Yeah.
Instead of bottling up, that's what hurt me was bottling all the good and bad emotions, and it just broke.
Right.
me.
Yeah. And I feel like there's a societal norm, and it's kind of a feminist fracture, is how I look at it. And feminism has said being a man is toxic masculinity and showing your emotions. Then you have like these emo kids, and you have the metrosexuals who are like putting makeup on and being basically acting the same way as homosexuals without being homosexuals. And then you have men who look at that and be like, I have to counteract to that. It's like, no, you need to be somewhere in the middle, right? You don't need to be feminine. You don't need to be uber masculine and like you're a strong stone face fucking killer 24/7.
Everybody has their
Having
own
that
balance.
cry is okay.
There is like everybody has their own personal balance of feminine and masculine, and there is no right amount for each individual person. So,
Exactly.
like you yourself has said, you're definitely going to be a little more masculine than I am because of your assholishness, whereas I'm going to be a little bit more feminine just because I'm much more timid and passive. But it doesn't mean I won't beat the fucking shit out of somebody if he pisses me off. You know,
Right, and that's the thing. It's like
it works for
I'm
you, it
very
works for me.
adamantly against fist fighting people. Right, like if something is serious enough, it needs to be serious enough that we fight to the
Well,
death.
sometimes you need to
You know
get
what I
in
mean?
and
Like
out.
what I was gonna say is, I was in high school and this dude wanted to fight me over a girl. I'm like, you can have her. Like, if that's what she needs to determine who she's gonna date, you can fucking have her. That
Yeah,
is not a woman I want to be with.
yeah.
I was like, but if it's serious enough that we go to fucking fighting, it should be fighting to the death. I'm like, there's no middle ground for me. Like people are like, oh, and like I have a lot of friends and they got into fights in the bars all the time. Like, I don't want to hang out with you because that's the shit you do, and that isn't important enough to fight over. If
Well,
it's important
I'll
enough to
admit
fight over, it should be a fucking fight to the end.
well, I'm afraid that like if the next guy I do get in confrontation with, I will end up killing him. But I don't think it should be to the death. I just think it should be, till he's freaking out cold, or there should be a limit. If he's on the ground, it's over. That's my limit.
My big problem. I was raised. Okay, I have 6 sisters and no brothers, and my dad was only in my life about half the time. But I feel that try not to sound sexist. Women and their defensive capabilities when it comes to men are inferior, right? So if a
Yeah,
woman
yeah.
is attacked by a man, you put him down and make sure he stays down.
Well, that's what I mean.
That's my philosophy.
Just not.
And
to
here's the
death.
thing is, if a dude wants to punch me, I'll let him fucking punch me, and I won't even retaliate. But if I feel
Oh, I
that
will.
it's gotten serious enough that I need to retaliate, he's not getting the fuck up. Now, if that means he's unconscious and it's fucking over, then it's fucking over.
If someone takes a swing at me, I'm fucking punching right back. There's like I actually
Right.
want somebody
I
to
won't.
hit first,
I really
just
won't.
for legal
It's like-
reasons.
No, I was just saying, I won't. I've been punched numerous times by fucking people. I'm like, are you fucking done? And they're like, yeah, fuck you. And then they walk away. I'm like, okay. And that's it. And I'll fucking walk away with the bloody nose. But if I feel that the situation has escalated to the point where I have to retaliate,
I have
I'm
done that
putting
a
you
few
down
times.
and I'm making sure you don't get up.
It was only because they punched like a little girl, and I just kind of stood there looking at them like, okay, what the fuck was that supposed to be? And they
Well,
get
yeah,
embarrassed
like
and walk away.
I had a guy. I went up to his girlfriend. I was like, "Okay, I have a friend who's got a crush on you," and she's like, "I have a boyfriend." I was like, "Oh, okay," and I walked away. The boyfriend then came up to me after school and attacked me, and I refused to fucking hit him back. And so, like, I'm not gonna fight over a girl, especially a girl I don't even like. Like, it's not even a girl I was trying to go out with. Somebody I know liked her. Like, like this is a complete non-fight issue. He
But I
fucking hit
remember high
me
school.
maybe 15, 20 times. And then I looked at him like, "Are you fucking done?" And he's like, "Yeah, stay away from my girlfriend." And he fucking walked away. And I was like, "Okay, I could have escalated the situation," which most people would have looked at that and said that was already escalated. But it's like
Yeah,
he didn't do any real damage. If I felt that I was actually in danger, it would have been a whole different situation.
yeah. I know the type. They got like no power behind them. They're little bitches.
Yeah, right. And that's what I'm saying. Like, I had a dude run across the fucking locker room and run across the room and then fucking clock me. And I looked at him and was like, "Is that it?" He said, "I'll fuck you up." I was like, "Oh, okay." And then he walked away. I was like, now,
Yeah,
most people, they get hit once and they want to retaliate. He's like, you escalated the situation. Like, sometimes they'll hit you once or twice, and that'll be the end of it. If you escalate the situation, I feel it only needs to be escalated if it has to be escalated.
yeah.
Yeah,
You're absolutely right, and it's dependent on the scenario. Like the times where it's come out of nowhere, where I've just turned around and someone's just like, bam, right in the face, and just like, what the fuck is wrong with you?
Yeah, who's
But
it?
If
Saphir?
it's a group, the last encounter I actually had.
Oh yeah. If a
7
group
them.
of people come up to me and one of them
Whoa.
hits me, I am putting that one down
Well,
and
fuck,
then looking at
exactly.
the rest and hoping they don't fucking step up.
Oh no, they didn't. The first one came up, pushed me head on, was like "fuck you," and the other 6 were walking up, and I just like, all right, fuck, this is gonna hurt. So the first punch knocked him out, and because I was in boxing at the time, the second one caught him as he was falling, and I was just like, why are you falling? And to turn to look, the other ones were all just shocked. So I'm like, okay, this is my cue to get the fuck out of here.
Well, it's like,
like fuck.
Mexicans. I am Mexican, so this is not racism. All right. Okay. So what had happened was I was hanging out in a bar. I met a dude, and I was like, "Hey, you're fucking cool." We fucking hanged out. We had a couple drinks. Some dudes came up to me and asked me who I was with. When you're in Southern California, that means what gang are you with? And I was like, "I'm not affiliated." They're like, "Oh, okay." So this other dude, fucking like this one guy came up and asked me that. This other dude came up, and now it's 2 fucking guys. And I'm sitting there like, okay, if I escalate the situation, I have 2 guys. No matter what, I'm gonna have to do something about. Right? And
Yeah.
so the dude's fucking pushing my forehead and like bouncing my head off the